We're going to start with talking about how you can upload and distribute your video podcast to Spotify for creators and share some of the really amazing new updates that Spotify for creators has. And it's amazing. And then from there, we'll take a short intermission. We'll take your questions, and then we'll move on and talk about how to grow your podcast on YouTube, your video podcast on YouTube, with some really game-changing, high-level coaching strategies from Veronica with that. And then finally, we'll finish up to talk about the very popular thing that everybody is asking us about, and that's what's the best video camera? What's the best camera for video podcasting? We'll divide that into 3 categories: consumer, prosumer, and professional. But before we do that, if you have not yet had the opportunity to try out our newly designed free video podcast edit lab, make sure you check that out. It's a reality check program that allows you to test the waters if video editing and podcast editing could be something you could consider as a profession, something that you could consider as a side job. It's really the best entry point right now in terms of side jobs, building an entrepreneur business for yourself online. And so, check it out. You can go to pss.media/free-edit lab, and the link is right at the top of our channel.
Awesome. So before we get into the juicy stuff that we are going to be sharing today, why don't we show them the different cameras that I have on me?
Yeah, so
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Mom, I'm famous.
I could just pull up the web camera here. And
I'm famous, Mama.
We can do that. So this one that's moving around here is a web camera.
Here's my coffee.
But since when we get to that segment in the show, we're going to look at all of the different cameras that you can use for video podcasting. Cool. There's one there. She's got this one over here. This is a very shaky camera. That one's my camera. Mm-hmm. So there we go. And then, of course, the web camera here. Place it right there. So
nice.
When we get to the point where we're going to be talking about our camera suggestions for a video podcast, you'll actually get to see Veronica through each of the cameras that we talk about. So also a lot of fun stuff to stick around for. So what do you say? You want to get to the first part?
Yes.
The first segment? Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, because we have a lot of people in our community who want to start publishing their video podcast to Spotify. So let's just help them out. So this is a question that I get a lot. Veronica, how do I get my show on Spotify? How do I get my podcast, my video podcast on Spotify? And that's why we are going to do it. I'm going to do it here with you. And I'm going to do it with our new show, Content Sancocho. We're going to be posting our live streams on Spotify, and it's going to be video and audio. So I'm going to walk you through the process of uploading your show to Spotify. And I'm also going to show you. I don't know why I'm getting frustrated.
It's because I'm down here crawling around. We had the color of this light behind you turned purple, so I had to change it real quick.
Okay.
And I know that was messing you up. I'm sorry.
We're going to be talking about why you need to be on Spotify from the point of view of strategy. And then we're going to get into the process of uploading your show to Spotify step by step. And then we are going to be showing you the new Spotify features that are really cool, if I do say so myself. Like, I tried them yesterday. Pretty cool stuff. Let's get to it.
All right, let's get to it. What do you have?
So, why Spotify? Well, you may be wondering, like, why do I need to post my post or upload my podcast to Spotify? Maybe you're already uploading your show to Apple Podcasts, or you're considering launching your show. Well, Spotify for podcasters, or Spotify for creators, because they changed the name earlier last year.
Yeah, I think it was last year.
Earlier. So it was Anchor, and then from Anchor, then it turned into Spotify for podcasters, and now it's called Spotify for creators. And this is Spotify just trying to support video as well. So not only audio, video too. And the reason why you want to be on Spotify is because it's a free podcast distribution. And I'm getting ahead of myself. Well, first is a free podcast hosting platform. Just like you can upload your video podcast here on YouTube, and then you don't have to pay YouTube to upload your content. You can do that too with Spotify for creators. You upload your audio, you upload your video, you set up distribution, you grow your audience there, and you don't have to pay Spotify for creators a dime. So that's one of the advantages of being on Spotify for creators. And you can upload audio only, or you can upload your video podcast too. When you do a video podcast, then the video will be distributed only on Spotify, and then you can set up your RSS feed and manage distribution to other podcast platforms like Amazon Music and Apple Podcast as well. But if you want to upload your content to YouTube as well, if you want to upload your content, your video podcast to YouTube, you can do it. You are the owner of your content. You make it and you choose the distribution. Like those platforms, they don't own your content. So you're welcome to put your content whenever you want to, wherever you want to put it on. Mm-hmm. Yes. So another reason why you want to have your show on Spotify for creators is because of all of the great tools that the platform offers for you to monetize, for you to promote your show. And we're going to get into those in a minute. I'm going to show it to you, and I'm going to show you all the tools and things that you can do inside of Spotify for creators, like really cool stuff. Yeah. So, and then the other thing is that you will have, from the point of view of distribution strategy, you make your content and you don't want to just put it on one platform. You want your content to be spread wide on different platforms so you can grow your audience on different platforms. You don't want to be dependent on just one platform. And social media, YouTube and Spotify, they have different algorithms. So your content may grow faster on YouTube or Spotify, depending on what you make, just because the algorithms are so different. So here on YouTube, the algorithm is based on user experience or user interaction with your content. On Spotify, they have a little bit of that algorithm recommending content to users, but they also have an editorial team. So if your show makes it to the editorial team and they decide that that your show is worth for them to show it to more people on Spotify, then that will happen, and then all of a sudden you will have a big audience on Spotify.
Yeah, from a strategic standpoint, it's not a stretch to imagine that Spotify is very hungry for video creators and contributors to their platform. They really do want to compete with YouTube. And so it provides a really cool opportunity to just, as Veronica said, it's just an extra step of administrative process every week. You essentially are going to upload the same video podcast episode with the same description and title, and now other features we're going to get to, a thumbnail too. Spoiler alert.
Yes. So I am going to get into the distribution. So how do you distribute your show to Spotify? Well, let's get into the step-by-step of this part of the process.
Okay, so are you going to show us your computer, right?
Yes.
And get us going with that. So, let's just I'll help you get your mic a little closer.
Okay.
So you can actually get there.
But before I get into that, do you have any questions? Are you on Spotify already? Are you enjoying being on Spotify?
Well, we do have a question from Virginia Olivius Smith. Can you tell me if I can use a separate camera for my guest podcast on Descript? And, that's not a direct, a separate camera for my guest podcast on Descript. Mm-hmm. And
so maybe she's recording in her studio with two people. Right?
With two people. Oh, yeah.
Right.
And you want to use two cameras at the same time in Descript. Mm-hmm. You can actually use a camera switcher like we're using here for this live stream. And then somebody would have to have the responsibility of switching the camera. And then that, what you would call, becomes a program monitor. that would get entered into Descript or anywhere that you could plug your camera switcher into. But yeah, there's lots of functionality you can do, but Descript itself is only going to allow you to have one camera source, if that makes sense. We got another question too. Thoughts on an optimizing multi-platform distribution strategy is backup, and thoughts on Rumble introducing payments for the Bitcoin. Let me see. Greetings from Dubai. That was a big, long question.
Well, the Bitcoin is the...
What are our thoughts on optimizing multi-platform distribution? Oh, that's what we're getting into. And then also a backup and thoughts on Rumble introducing payments for creators via Bitcoin. Oh, yeah. And then also RSS.com does that as well. You can actually pay your creators through Bitcoin. That's pretty cool, too. What are your thoughts on that, Veronica?
I'm not gonna say that. I'm a complete ignorant when it comes to Bitcoin. Something that I would bring to your attention is that if your audience is well versed on Bitcoin, if maybe your show is about Bitcoin or something that has to do with the technology behind Bitcoin, and you know that your audience is well versed, then definitely this is something that I will not only recommend but encourage, because that will be they're familiar with it. If your audience is not, if maybe you're talking to older millennials, moms, or maybe 40-year-old plus dads, or people who may not be as familiar with Bitcoin, I would try it, but I will lower my expectations as how it's going to go.
Yeah, I think that you would have to really spend some time optimizing for that before you would really, any creator is going to make any sort of substantial monetary gain from the Bitcoins, because they're miniature little fractions of a fraction of a Bitcoin that people can tip you to your show. You'd have to have a rather large audience. So while it's a cool feature, I guess I have doubts in terms of its real monetary gain. And I'm always looking out for our creators as far as like, what's the biggest bang for your buck? Like what are some efforts and ways that I can optimize that are actually going to pay off for me in the long run? I think there's a lot of efforts we could do that will pay off bigger for us rather than trying to get our listeners to tip us Bitcoin. But it is a really cool feature, and it's definitely something to like look in the future of, and like how content and different ways of reaching and developing with our creators is going to be. But anyway, we got off a little bit topic with that one. But thank you for your questions. Yes. So now, let's get back to it, Veronica. And what are you going to show us?
So how do we upload our shows to Spotify? Well, the first thing you want to do is to go to Spotify for creators, and you can do this by just typing Spotify for creators on Google, or you can go to creators.spotify.com. Then while you're there, you can say sign up for free or log in using your existing Spotify account. What I did for this exercise is that I created a brand new account for our show, Content Sancocho. So you want to hit get started and then sign up for Spotify. And then you want to add your email address. This is the email that will be in your account and your show account. So make sure that you choose an email that you have access to, because I've had a lot of peeps, a lot of my people telling me I sign up with this email and I don't even remember the password. So let's just make sure that we use a email that we have access to. And then we want to click on next. And then we want to go through the steps of creating a password. Once again, if I'm telling you this, it's not because I'm being condescending and rude, it's because I've been there too. So just a password that you will remember. Just write it somewhere and then save it, because you're going to need it later. And then you click next. And then Spotify is going to want to learn about you. I don't think there's anything wrong with some of the questions that Spotify asks here. Mainly is because they want to collect data about creators. So you want to enter your name, your date of birth, your gender, but you can choose not to disclose your gender if this is something that you don't want to do. Then you go to the terms and conditions screen after that, and then you may choose to read through the terms and conditions. I would encourage you to do so you know what type of content you can upload to the platform. Like I said, is free, but because it's free, they get to choose which type of content they don't allow it on the platform. So make sure that you read through the terms and conditions to see if your content, it's okay to be put on the platform before you get any letters or something like that after you have uploaded a bunch of episodes. I can tell you right now, like if your content is just, normal, but if your content maybe has a little bit of hate speech or things like that, then you may encounter problems, which I know that people here in our community, they're all like peace and love and encouraging each other. And
yeah. We don't like the hate
so
speech.
you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, no.
Then you will be sharing your registration data with Spotify, and then click sign up.
Oh.
And then once you've done all this, then you are inside Spotify for Creators. This is a very exciting moment. It's like, okay, this is it. This is it. This is happening. So Spotify will give you another pop-up that will say that you need to accept the terms and conditions. And, you just have to. You just can't avoid not to.
You got to accept those terms and conditions.
And so you click on accept, and then you're going to get a pop-up message that will tell you, learn more about Spotify for podcasters. You may take some time to go through the different resources that Spotify for Creators has for creators. They have different tips and different educational articles on how to grow your audience, how to make better content and all that. But for the sake of this demonstration, we're just gonna exit out of that. So take some time to go through the resources later if you have the time. And then we close out of this pop-up, and then here we are. We're going to create our new show. And then for this, you want to have all of the information that you need handy. So create a document. It can be a Google Doc, it can be a Word doc, and then you add all of the information from your show, the name of your show, the description, just a short description of your show, and this is like the unique value of your show, or the value proposition of your show, which is what's the value that you're providing for your audience, who's your audience, and all of these things. And then so that's what I did. The show name is Content Sancocho. I copied and pasted the description and show creator Veronica Davis. But later when I went through the process, I went back and I changed it for PSS Creative Media, because that's our name. And then you want to choose a show category for my podcast for Content Sancocho. I chose marketing because what we do is content marketing, so I chose marketing. But you can choose business, education, and there's a drop-down menu with the different show categories that you can choose from. Don't get nervous about all of this information and just thinking that you need to have it, perfect. And this is something that you can go back and change. It's not going to mess anything up if you do so. And then you want to choose the language. Is your show in Spanish? Is it in English? Is it in, whatever the language that you will be using? And then you click next. And this is going to prompt you to add a show art. So if you have one already created, you can upload your show art. If you haven't done any of this, then you can go to Canva and create your podcast, your show cover art. I went through the process of creating one for Content Sancocho. I did it under 20 minutes, I think. It was a pretty,
And I love it.
pretty, pretty fun. Are you showing it?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's pretty much what it is. I just show up on Saturdays, this big diva, and Steven has been all morning here dealing with the tech, running around with like a chicken with the. Where's Martita?
No,
Now
not
that I bring
Martita.
He's been sweating, putting all this stuff together, and I just show up like a diva. So that just reflects content sancocho.
Yes.
So I created that cover art, and then what I did was to go back to Spotify for Creators and upload the cover art there. And then it takes us, after we do this, then we'll go immediately to the homepage. The homepage is going to be the place where you're going to find your latest episodes. You're going to get an overview of your analytics. You are also going to get a place where you can see all the comments that people leave you, that your audience leaves you on your episodes, which is pretty cool that that you can do that on Spotify for Creators. Then let me. So when you are on your homepage, you're going to see this box that is telling you if you're closer to launch your show. So it's going to tell you what are the next steps that you need to take. And one of those steps is that you have to verify your email address. So go to your email address. That's what I did. I went to my email address and I saw that Spotify had sent me an email. Then I clicked on the email and I went through the process verifying my email. This is how Spotify just make sure that you are a real person, that you're not a bot, that you're not a spammer, that you are flesh and bones.
Flesh and bones.
Flesh and bones.
That was one of the best Southern accents you've ever done.
So you want to do this because then if you don't do this, then your account will be, shut off. And you don't want that to happen. So after you've done this, then you go into the process of uploading and publishing your first episode. And this is exciting. This is when things get real.
This is what we've been waiting for. This is the big moment.
So you want to click on upload your first episode. And when you do this, it's going to take you to the upload page. And so let's, let me see here.
It will take you to the upload page.
So your so your upload page is going to have two boxes. One box is for you to upload your content, upload your episode, whether if it's audio or video. And then the other box is telling you to, once again, go through the terms and conditions and maybe to review some of the copyright information if you are publishing content that may infringe on copyright law. Then you want to be in the know when it comes to this. And also, if you're uploading music, then they have another resource that you can go through, and you will know if you are allowed to upload your music or whatever music you want to upload. And also on this side, you will find a place where it needs that need to record episode. And this is like, let's say that you went through the whole process and you don't have an episode recorded. Spotify for Creators is linked It's linked to Riverside FM, and Riverside is a tool where you can record video and audio, and is right there on your browser. You can, if you click on this, need to record episode, it's going to take you to Riverside FM, and then you'll go through the process of creating an account with them, and then you will go through the process of recording your content through them. There's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's a great thing that both are linked, because when you are done recording content on Riverside FM, then that content will be transferred to Spotify for Creators. You don't have to download any files or anything. They're connected. And I forgot the word. connected?
Yeah, I think they're connected or they're integrated.
Integrated.
Yes, and what's really cool about it too is Riverside's making all sorts of advancements all the time in terms of editing your episodes. So the idea, what they're chasing, is that you could do those preliminary edits and, you know, cut out some parts you don't want and trim the beginning and the end, and then send that directly to Spotify is kind of where they're at. And that actually does work. You can't do any advanced editing and really any of the professional editing stuff like color correction or transitions or text animations and things like that. But, you know, if you just want to get started and get your episodes out there and get your message out there, you can do that directly from Riverside right onto Spotify.
I'm gonna have to.
Oh, and then I can just keep talking. And I don't have a way of muting. You may be asking, if you've been tuning into our live streams, you're like, where's all the crazy music and sound effects?
Girls get, you know, I get a lot of air, so it has to come out.
When she projects herself more and more,
from the north and not the south.
Now you're getting the behind the scenes of what happens when Veronica records videos. There's a lot of gas going on, you know.
But on the other side of that screen, the upload screen, is the upload your file here. And that's the one that I'm going to use because I already have my content recorded. So if you have your content recorded, then you select this option on your right. And when you click on select file, then it's going to take you to your computer files. And from your computer files, you find your episode and you click on that episode and say upload. And then you can select, like I already mentioned, audio or video. And the upload is going to take a few minutes, maybe a little longer if you are uploading video. It's of 4K or higher quality. But for me, it took only less than 2 minutes to upload my episode. And then after you have uploaded your episode, then you want to add just basic description, like the episode title. Once again, you want to have all this information gather in one document, so it's just copy and paste. So that's what I did. I copied the title, I copied the description, and then this is one of the new features for Spotify, and that's a thumbnail.
Yes.
So, does this look familiar?
It looks very familiar.
YouTube.
Also, what's cool about it is it has like this AI or automatically generated thumbnail that will just capture a frame from your episode or your video, like exact copy of YouTube, and then or you can upload your own thumbnail. This is really exciting because now we're looking at a platform that's going to be similar to YouTube, where it's not. Spotify has this interesting combination between roulette style content like TikTok with its short videos for those who like to consume that way. And then it also has more selective, like I'm going to make my own adult decision on what I watch content like YouTube does. And you can hear my tone there, right? And then you can upload your own thumbnail. And this is incredibly powerful because a thumbnail gives you so much marketing potential in terms of getting a brand new person who's never encountered your content before an opportunity to click and watch one of your episodes. So yeah. Really exciting.
Really exciting. It's just, and it looks very similar to what you do on YouTube, which is you have your YouTube banner, you have just like this place that you call is your corner of YouTube with, everything that you post, your upload, your content, your, the different thumbnails, the visuals that you use to represent your brand. So I was very excited about this, and I'm going to show you how it looks on Spotify in a minute. But it will display only on Spotify because remember, when you upload your video podcast to Spotify, the video will only be posted or distributed on Spotify. So it won't be distributed anywhere else. So this thumbnail will be only on Spotify. But we'll get to the individual episode cover because that's different. That will go on your audio-only distribution. So then the screen on the left will show you the upload progress. So if you're one of those who like to look at that and 10%, 50%, and then you have to do like, you
gotta lift weights
jumping
while it's uploading.
jacks, and because you don't have
How
the
many
patience.
reps can I get
You don't have the patience. You don't like to wait, and not even 5 minutes.
I just stare at it.
Steven.
I do a blinking contest with the loading screen.
I'm like la la land, doing some online shopping. But you can check if the episode is. Oh, then you'll see the progress. But then you have to add more information. There's a place for you to tell Spotify if your content is for mature audiences, so over 18. You don't have to toggle this if your content is for everybody, but if you do, then you just toggle it. And then another one is that if it has explicit content or explicit language, then you will have to let Spotify know that your episodes have explicit language.
If you're dropping the F-bombs, just click here. It's fine.
Yes.
Drop all the F-bombs you want. We welcome F-bombs.
We don't, so I didn't check it. But once again, you can go back and change this too.
We don't really drop the F-bombs. And it's not for any real moral or ethical reason. We just want our content to be like able to be broadcasted to anyone. That's why we don't drop the F-bombs.
Yeah.
But that's not to say I wouldn't like to drop an occasion. I don't know. I don't really like the F-bomb that much.
I don't know.
I feel like it's overused, maybe.
Well, sometimes, but you don't have to. Well, it's okay. If you use it, it's fine.
If you're going to use the F-bomb, like pull it out like nice, like stylistically. Overuse of the F-bomb is just so 2002.
Or just do it in Spanish. Ay, vida berraca.
Ay, berraca.
Okay, so another thing that Spotify is very concerned. I don't know why. They want to know if you are have sponsored content or if you're running ads on your episodes. So you have to let Spotify know if this is the case. Pretty much like here on YouTube, when you release a video, you have to let YouTube know if your content is being sponsored or or if you have ads.
Yeah, it's because Spotify is going to run advertisements on your content, so there could
eventually
be a conflict of interest. So yeah, they just need to know. That's standard procedure for a platform.
Yes. You can also, this was very fun because you can create a poll to get audience engagement. And this, I will recommend you to do this because this is how you but you get your audience in the habit of interacting with your content. It's really, really hard to get people to comment, to get people to talk to you. Most of people, they're like passive content consumers. So the more you are just asking your audience to interact with your content, the better. So this is one way that you can do so. And so for me, I added like what type of content what type of content will you create in 2025? Because that was the topic of the episode is like from consumer to creator, become a content creator in 2025. So that was my question. And then you can add options to that. So they just have on the option. And, one of my options was podcast, and I added another video podcast. And then you can add, more options if you wish to add more options. And then, additional details for your episode, like episode type. What kind of type of episode is it? Is it a trailer? Is it a full episode? Is it a bonus episode? That is, you just want to mark your episodes, and also. There's a place for you to say, okay, this is season number 1 and this is episode number 1, if you want to keep track of that. And that's what I did. I said season number 1 of Content Sancocho, episode number 1 officially. It's being uploaded.
What is that accent?
Uploaded. It's being uploaded.
And on this note, the additional details, and when you're choosing an episode number, you can do that. And if you don't do that, it'll just fill in naturally and do it on its own. I kind of have recently opted to not do it and then just from the beginning. But what's most important, I think, here is to choose trailer or bonus or full to choose the episode type. Yeah.
Yeah. So And then you want to, so there's a place for you to add individual episode art for your episodes. That was redundant. But you have a podcast art, and that's the cover of your show. And then you can have individual art for each episode. And this will show on Apple Podcast, on Amazon Music, the audio only podcast platforms. And this is where you can do so. And lastly, comment and and then lastly, it allows you users to comment on episode. I don't remember. I added this here, and I really don't remember what I wanted to say. But then you are taken to this screen that is the review and publish screen. So this is where you go through all of the information that you just put there for your episode, and you will be able to see a preview of the show and all of the different cover art and thumbnails that you added to the episode. And then you get to choose if you want to publish the episode right away or if you want to schedule the episode for later. I went ahead and I hit publish because I couldn't wait. I wanted to see it. I wanted to see it on Spotify. I wanted to see myself on Spotify. Yoo-hoo. So when I hit publish now, then Spotify prompted me to connect my RSS feed with other podcast players. And this is an important step that you want to do. You just don't want to be exclusively on Spotify. You want your show to be available on other podcast platforms as well, because
as many places as you can get it.
As many places
as
you
can get.
The
more places you can distribute your content, the better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people, we've been. I have I have Alexa'd my entire home. So at some point I'm going to have to get Amazon Music.
Alexa?
Because, even though I have my Spotify account linked to Alexa, they just really want you to get a membership with Amazon Music. And when you have Amazon Music, you just have to ask Alexa to play the name of the show, and it will play the latest episode, which, how cool is that? So you want to have your show on Amazon Music. You also, there's a lot of people who use Apple Podcasts.
You want to Alexify your podcast.
So, I was the podcast audience on Apple Podcasts is huge. That's why you need to distribute your show via RSS feed to Apple Podcasts as well. And it's a very, very easy step to take. Spotify for Creators provides with plenty of instructions. You just have to go step by step through the process. They also have links, because when you are going to distribute your RSS to Amazon Music or to Apple Podcasts, you need to have accounts on these places and be able to log into those accounts when you are distributing your RSS feed. But very easy, very intuitive to do. I did it, within, minutes, and I followed the instructions, and I copied the RSS feed link from Spotify for Creators, and then I pasted on Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music, and then I haven't checked if the show is there, if it's been approved.
Sometimes it can take a little bit, but you will notice too, if you ever need to get back to this elusive thing called an RSS feed, that's just the URL or the actual physical address of your podcast on Spotify. If you need your RSS feed for any reason, after the fact, you will find it in the settings tab of Spotify. You just click on settings and you'll notice show settings. There's a tab for availability, which kind of means where is my podcast available? Mm-hmm. And then you will see your Spotify actual address will be the first thing. And then down the list a little bit more comes your RSS feed. That's what you're looking for right there. So you can always find your RSS feed.
So if it's a super simple step, I will encourage you to do so. I will encourage you to do so. to do so. I will encourage you to do so. So, now let's move to. Oh, do we have any questions?
Oh yeah, are there any questions? Let me check here in the preguntas. Let's see if we have any questions here. It looks like, some things were happening. I wasn't paying attention to the questions because I was too busy messing around with this webcam. Like, come on, can you grow up, please?
Can you get it together, please?
Can you please get it together? Okay, I don't find it valuable when you mess with the webcam. So we had that awesome question from Muzamil from Dubai. Thank you for that. And then from there, Virginia popped back in. For me to use, on me, a camera, my guest would be elsewhere. Yeah, you can plug any camera you want into your computer, Virginia, and then that will work directly with Descript. And we're actually going to get into that for the last segment of this. I guess what
Virginia is. Let me because I think I.
You think you vibe what she's throwing down?
So Virginia, you can record your podcast into this script and connect with another person who is not there with you, because they are integrated, or now within their technology they have Squadcast. And Squadcast allows you to connect remotely with guests. So you will have your webcam, you will have your microphone, and then you create this, I don't know how they call it on Squadcast, or a studio, right?
Yeah, I think they call it a studio.
You create the studio, and then you send that link to your guest, and then your guest is going to have the same, is going to connect with you using their computer, using their own camera, and using their own microphone. And that's how you will record your podcast in the script using Squadcast.
Yes, and then again from Pennsylvania, Greg, what's up? We are going to get into all the camera stuff. That's actually the third part of this. So why don't we save this question from Greg? He's just asking, which lenses would you recommend? Ooh, we're going to get there. And we're going to divide it into budget too, consumer, prosumer, and professional. So no matter what your budget is, I'll give you our best suggestions. And we'll take a look at the cameras we actually have plugged in here. And that will give you a very good idea of the difference. Like, for example, the Sony camera that you see me looking at here. And then if I switch over to a webcam, what the quality difference is. Now, that's not, I mean, this isn't too bad when you get close. I mean, that's better than a lot of our laptop cameras. But, I mean, if you were to compare it, right off the bat with that, it's like, oh, I see, right? And so unfortunately, when it comes to lenses, you do get what you pay for. But we're going to get into that stuff. So any more camera questions and lens questions, make sure you keep those coming. We also have Elaine from Kentucky. What's up, Elaine?
Elaine. So there's a way that, can you say Kentucky?
Oh, but I don't want to offend anyone. But when I've been doing
Kentucky,
I've been doing Southern accents, trying to do different accents my whole life.
Kentucky.
And it wasn't until we drove through Kentucky that I realized I'm home. These are my people, because but I'm sure Elaine's going to be like, that's not a Kentucky accent.
Elaine, we don't.
Kentucky. Hey, here we are. We're here, guys.
Let us know if that's we haven't met anybody.
Let us know if it's
Kentucky.
offensive. I mean, I was just trying to make the kids laugh. They didn't find it to be funny. Oh, look, we're in Kentucky.
It's the lips is what you got to do. The accent's all in the way you do this, But
Okay. Anyway, Elaine, sorry. Elaine does have a question. Again, needing tips on cameras to use for podcasting. Wonderful.
Well, we're going to get there. So I'm going to hurry.
Oh, okay. Well, then, okay. I'm going to get through the last of the questions.
They're anxious.
But are you done with the screen recording?
No, no, but I'm going to show some things here.
Okay. Then keep going. Yep.
So let's look at let's look at some of the amazing new features from Spotify for creators. Let's just jump in and let me show you some of the amazing features that are inside Spotify for creators. So the first one, if you go to settings, you will have a screen that will show you all the information about your show, and then you will see how you can change this information at any time. You can add all of your links to your website URL, your social media. You can do different things here. But if you go to the upper left menu, you'll see about availability. That's where you find your RSS feed, and then team. And then if you click on manage team, it will take you to another screen where you can add people from your production team, and you can assign different roles. So if you have people managing your Spotify for Creators account, they're maybe they're replying to comments.
Cállate.
They're like, so
Cállate.
you don't have to share your login information. They will have different roles assigned inside Spotify for Creators. So how cool is that?
Really cool. Get hooked up with the PSS Creative Media Editor, and they will be publishing and distributing, taking care of everything for you here as a team member on your Spotify account.
Doing all of that for you.
Really cool stuff.
So let's see. You can also, I don't know, your team. Okay, so another cool thing that we already show you was the thumbnails. And I'm going to show you how it looks here on the Spotify interface so you can see how cool this is. So if you find your show and then you click on the episode, this is how it's going to look. And if we can show this with
Oh yeah, let me pop it. I'm
webcam.
going to show it here on the computer screen first as well.
Oh, okay.
And then we can show it on the camera as well. So you can see here it is actually on Spotify. And then if you press play, we've got let's see what's happening. Oh, but you know what? Spotify is pretty good about not displaying things with screen recordings, which is pretty cool. Spotify knows that I'm trying to show you its screen and it's not actually playing the video, but we can show it here.
So that's how it looks. And I don't want to lose my audio, but if you can scroll and show how it looks. So here at the top of your episode, you can find the episode thumbnail. Here is going to be your description. Inside your description, you can add timestamps, and those timestamps, Spotify will automatically organize them for you. So it makes it for a better audience experience, for a better user experience for your audience.
Mm-hmm. This camera will probably show things
better?
a little bit better. Yeah.
Okay.
There we go, yeah.
So, but your audio is over there. So,
Oh yeah, they can't hear me.
and I can see.
Look how cool that is. A video podcast
And then
episode.
if you keep scrolling, then you will see the poll that you created when you uploaded your episode. That's where it will be, and your audience can vote and can interact with your content. And if you keep scrolling, then you will find the comments that people will leave on that episode. So like really, really cool stuff.
Yes, really cool.
So Spotify for Creators will create a chapter for your episode. Not a chapter. What am I saying? We'll create chapters for your episode.
Alexa?
Stop. Okay, I lost my train of thought. But
I'm sorry, I got messed.
so as Spotify for Creators, another new feature is that it will create a transcript for your episode, so people can, as they listen or as they watch, they can scroll down the transcript and have that resource there for them. And they can also, if your episodes are an hour and a half long, or 2 hours, they can use the chapters to go through the different points that you cover inside that specific episode. And let me show you one of my favorite features. So if you let's click on the episode that I uploaded for this video for Content Sancocho. If you click on that episode, that very first episode, and then you click on clips, and it's in beta.
Beta? I think you say beta perfectly.
In beta.
Yeah. Actually, beta is kind of pronounced with that
Beta?
with that Hispanic accent to
Beta.
begin with. Yeah. Beta. Beta.
So you can upload vertical clips like Instagram Reels, like YouTube Shorts, like TikTok.
Cállate.
I have TikTok is no longer. So I was one of those who, when the whole TikTok thing happened, I deleted the app. Now I can't put it on my phone because it's not on the app store anymore.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
So,
That was a big mistake.
yeah, and I've heard there's this chisme that people are selling phones with the TikTok app to those people.
Kaiju tape. I've got one. If you want it, $600.
Yes, can you believe it?
I know you need that dopamine. $600. Come on.
But this is a way, so you can create a vertical clip of that episode that will play on Spotify, and it will be pushed on the platform for people who are hunting for new episodes. This is it's been so fun for me to find new shows, and also it gives me a lot of hope when it comes to my content being in front of new audiences.
Yeah, check this out. Here we go. If I pull this in front of here. So now as part of that same episode, there's a clip kind of like on, they can't hear me.
Yes.
It's like a related
so
video.
there's a clip, and it says like related videos. If you click on one, then you will see that vertical video is linked to the longer format video, and that's how audiences will be able to find your content, just because we have this like scrolling vertical videos, TikTok style content that we can post on Spotify now. And the way that you do that is that you go to clips, and then you choose.
If you think that you can't start anything online because you have no experience, I want to help you remove that belief. The people who have made it on.
And this was just a clip from the podcast episode itself.
Yes. It can be longer than 90 seconds. So make sure that when you're creating yours, that you make them shorter than 90 seconds. And then the way that you upload them is that you click on the episode that the longer episode, there are these 3 dots on the right-hand side, and then you click on them, and then you say upload clip. And then you upload your vertical clip, and then you add a short description of what the vertical clip is about, and then you hit publish. It's as simple as that. So far, you can only upload 1 vertical clip per episode, but we don't know if that's going to change, and Spotify is going to.
So I was
allow us to
mistaken.
post
That's
more.
not actually quite like YouTube in that you could just have unlimited shorts. The short video or the vertical video that you create is actually a clip of your podcast episode. So did you just clip this from the episode, or did you upload a
No,
clip?
I uploaded it.
Oh, that's cool. So you can still upload your own short, which is great because, again, if you're working with a world-class editor, sorry, I just got to toot the horns of all of our editors. Did you know that we train editors at PSS Creative Media? It's like one of the half of the things that we do here. So we train creative professionals. And by the way, if you're interested in becoming a creative professional, I have a free mini course, the free Edit Lab, that I'm just really excited about, and I don't think enough people have tried it yet. It's free, and you can actually practice editing a 2-camera video podcast episode at the same time. There's a link in the description also on our channel for that.
Yes, editing is something that we encourage every creator to outsource. It can really make a huge impact in the way that your content looks. It will also save you a ton of time, and your editor can create these clips from your episodes when they are doing the main edit. So very, very, very cool stuff. And so that's it when it comes to new features and things that you can use right away. Then lastly, I'm going to talk about monetization. If you click on monetize, then Spotify will show you the different ways that you can monetize. You can apply for the Spotify Partner Program. And this is going to take a while for us because, to apply, you have to hit 2,000 people, streaming your content and for 30 days. So if you have 2,000 individual accounts streaming your content for 30 days, then you can apply immediately. That's one of the requirements. Or you hit 10,000 consumption hours, and this is in 30 days as well, in a 30-day window. And then you published at least 12 episodes, and then you can apply for the Spotify Partner Program. And this is when we get to that point and we get to see inside the Spotify partner program, we'll let you know what's all about. But this is pretty much Spotify running ads on your episodes.
Yeah, and then giving you
money.
Yeah, giving you a percentage of it. As far as there's been a lot of talk about how Spotify compares to YouTube in this regard, and they're more aggressive here in terms of being able to actually apply for this program, but that's theorized to actually lessen as they continue to develop some of these things.
Yeah.
But as far as what they pay out, the payout is about the same as what YouTube is going to pay out.
Yes. And you can, learn more about this and really what is going to help you grow on a platform like Spotify for creators or Spotify or YouTube is you creating consistent content and content that your audience enjoys. Consistency and testing the market and learning the different ways that you can grow your audience through SEO or through like making better content or any other content marketing strategies that you can employ. That's what is going to get you to the point where you start making money with your content. That's what I have for you.
And then finally, subscriptions is the other way.
And then subscriptions is the other way. So you can offer subscriptions to your audience. That is something that I haven't explored, or
we also haven't explored that either.
That we don't cover because for you to make good money with subscriptions, you need to have an audience that is pretty big, and we work with beginner content creators, beginner podcasters that start with an audience of 0 or a very small audience. So we just recommend different ways for them to start making money right away.
Yeah, I think right off the bat, just a lot of these monetization features, they're really cool, but they're especially cool for big audiences. And so when people directly say like, can I make money podcasting? Then they're really talking about like advertisements. We want to like set you up for putting your efforts towards things that are actually going to get you more attention, build your influence, and then make you money. Like an immediate thing to do instead of setting up these memberships would be to think about email marketing. Mm-hmm. Think about a free lead magnet or a freebie that you could create that you could offer to your audience in exchange for their email. That's a better way to start setting yourself up to eventually monetize your audience, you could say, and to spend your time than to, right off the bat when you're first ready for your show to set up a subscription. I mean, I know that the most similar thing to this that we've done when we first were starting with our podcast 6 years ago was to set up a Patreon. Mm-hmm. And that you have all of your friends and your two of the fans that find you they're your patrons. And then you wind up feeling the pressure because people are paying you $5 a month. You feel the pressure to put out a bunch of bonus content, and that effort of you putting out the bonus content should really just be free content that's available to everyone, so you have more consistent content, a higher quality of content. It'd be much better to instead look at how you can improve your show, how you can make your show more appeal to a more generalist audience than it would be to think about monetizing right now. Mm-hmm. You are going to monetize. You are going to make a ton of money. You are going to make a ton of money on your content. You just right now though, let's just focus on development.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Do we have any questions?
Oh, let's see if we have any questions. And then are you finishing anything with this segment up before we move on to the next segment?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see if we have any questions. And you guys have any thumbnail making tips? Ooh, great.
Yes.
That's for a whole nother, that's a really good idea for another live stream would be thumbnails, right?
But I have some stuff to
A couple
share.
tips? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that comes in the next video. I mean,
actually,
in the next
it does.
segment.
You guys are just leading us into the next segment. We're going to cover this in detail in the next segment, Greg. So make sure to stick around for that. If you've by some chance left us, Greg, this will be on replay here on YouTube after it processes. And we also like to make videos, standalone videos out of a lot of this material as well too. So make sure that you subscribe and come back. We'll make sure that you all get all this information that you need. And we also said, you said it right. We don't all have crazy accents, E-Pain says. I'm not sure what you were saying wrong. Was it beta?
Beta.
Oh, beta. And then Elaine was like, I wish that Steven would just kaijate. He thinks he's so clever with his webcam jokes. They're not funny. Okay. Anyway, you can tell the children have been affecting my self-esteem. Okay.
He needs validation.
I need validation, please. So if you're going to present anything else, can we back you up again?
Yes.
From your computer, I'll help you with the microphone.
Back me up.
I think this is better and it's not as blown out the light. And then I can increase the light on this a little bit. There we go. Okay, thank you for that, Veronica. A little quick adjustment of the cameras there. And we're back in business.
So that's it for
Sorry, we're not. I mean,
we're kind of ready. And these are all of the links and the resources that we're covering here on the live stream. They will be added to the description, so don't worry. We'll share that with you. And but distribution of your video podcast is one thing. Like I said, it's important that you get into making your content on a regular basis, that you have your workflow put in place for you to just sit down and record, and so everything goes smoothly. And for this, it's a step, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
When I'm moving things around, it's just hard for you to focus.
I don't know if I'm ready.
It's like, what is he doing? Is it okay? Are we live? Is he?
Yes, we are.
Yes,
we're
we are.
still live. Mm-hmm. But distributing your podcast to Spotify for creators is one part of the equation. Making the content is another one, and that is very important. And you have to really, really learn how to make good content, how to record good quality video podcasts, how to record audio and video. And for that, we have different resources here on our channel, walking you step by step on what the equipment do you need to record your video podcast and how to make amazing content.
Great. I feel pretty good about that. Now, there are some things missing from this live stream, like the fancy side-by-sides. And also, we are getting a new Rodecaster board, so there's no audio or sound effects, which, I guess I have to have something to fidget with in order for me to, but.
Woohoo!
So is that it? So we don't have any questions directly right now. What we're going to do now is take a brief intermission.
Okay.
Before we move on to the next topic, which everyone make sure you hang tight. If anybody needs to take a potty break or grab a coffee.
So what's coming? How the strategies that will work for you if you are a podcast creator, if you are here on YouTube, or you're thinking that you want to distribute your video podcast here on YouTube, I'm going to share strategies that will work for you for 2025. Things have changed here on YouTube a little bit. They're constantly changing when it comes to content creation, and we just want to bring you the latest strategies and the latest tips to help you grow. And this part of the live stream is going to be really, really juicy with a lot of cool information that you don't want to miss. We'll be right back.
Awesome. And I'll stop playing with this text box here. I wanted to get it in a nice place. All right. Yeah, we'll be right back with you.
Okay. And we're back. Welcome back to Content Sancocho. We are going to be moving on to our next segment, how to grow your show, how to grow a video podcast here on YouTube in 2025. Strategies for the win.
Yeah.
For the win.
We got some serious nuggets here.
Yes.
We had actually attempted to do this in another live stream, and we did a really good job. But I wanted to come back and revisit it again and really articulate some things more and give you even more value out of it, because I think it's that important.
Do you have more questions?
Do we have any more questions before we get started? How many of us are still here? If you're just tuning in, make sure you say hi. If you missed the first part of this presentation.
I am Veronica.
Hey, Veronica.
And I am from Colombia. If we have some Latinos there.
Cali, Colombia.
If we have some Latinos, my people. Where are my people?
Yeah. And if you missed the first part, we did talk all about how to get your podcast on Spotify for creators. Spotify for Creators has made a ton of really cool updates lately, and I really like the way they've named it Spotify for Creators, because it's really like kind of expresses the shift that the whole industry is taking, right? This blend in like, what's a podcast, what's a video podcast, what's a standalone YouTube video, and it's all content, and we're all just creators, and there's any way that you can create. If you want to do an audio only podcast, if you want to do video clips, there's people who do vertical video short podcasts. They never do long form content. They just do TikTok podcasts, and I guess if you just get a podcast microphone, that's enough, right?
Yeah, and then you record your vertical video, and then that's it.
But we do have a Build, Learn, and Grow. Has a question. Does uploading a video podcast via YouTube as a video and as a podcast hurt the video's performance? Or is that okay to do, to put the video on both playlists? And the answer is yes, it's totally okay to do. As Veronica mentioned before, you own that content. You can read the legal fine print on each of those platforms, and they are perfectly okay with it as well. The things that you will just need to disclose that are probably more of an issue with Spotify and YouTube is the music that you're using on your episodes. You want to make sure that you own the rights to that music. That becomes even more important as you start cross-platforming stuff. If you're vertical clips and things, and especially since Spotify is majorly a music platform, they have tight control over their the agreements there, the copyright of that music on the platform, and they're very strict about it. So I recommend sticking with one place where you could get your music. Artlist I like a lot, because you can actually register your channel and register your information, and then when they crawl through the directories to try to find if somebody's using their songs, you get dismissed of any being flagged for copyright. So the other best, safest bet there is to use your own custom music that you create for your intro, and then just don't use music in your podcast. That is always the safest bet. But other than that, no. In fact, it's quite the contrary to that. And I'm not sure what your name is, but it's like mandatory to publish to both platforms, right? Because it's just a little extra administrative work, and your reach is even more. So definitely publish to both places. If you're going to be spending the time filming, producing, and editing a video podcast, make sure that you publish it to YouTube and Spotify.
Yes. And something to think about if you're going to do the distribution both on Spotify for Creators and YouTube, you may not want to tell YouTube that your video podcast is a podcast, because then you're going to have conflicting things happening on Amazon Music. So when you tell YouTube Music.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I guess I was confused in that part.
So it's a little bit confusing.
It's a little bit confusing. Yeah. No, so not Amazon Music. So when you upload your video podcast to YouTube, then you can tell YouTube that it's a podcast, and what it does is that it will distribute your audio to YouTube Music, and people can enjoy it audio only, those who have YouTube Music. So that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Oh. And then I did want to get to Elaine's question. I hope Elaine's still here. And I hope I didn't chase you away with my horrible and offensive Kentucky accent.
It's not
I think
good. It's cute.
You think it's cute? Okay,
Absolutely.
good. She wants to start a podcast with her sisters, but they're not sure they want to be on camera. But she's like, maybe we could use the filters funny emoji. And I think you probably have a lot to say about this.
Yes, just go for the camera.
Just go for it.
Just go for it.
Just dive in.
With that being said, if none of you want to have video, then start with audio. And then when you're comfortable, then you can add the camera.
Yeah, actually, I love that we
have to get rid of this idea that, that we're just not suited for camera. Like, who's suited to be on camera? Like, we're all different, and we have different features, and we have things that we like about ourselves.
But it's difficult, and it is enough to keep you from creating to begin with, that camera anxiety, and I share it with you. And that's why I love audio only as a place to start, because there's also a lot of microphone anxiety. And so if you can get through the microphone anxiety, and then you're like, my voice sounds like that, and you get through all that stuff, and then also just the process and the habit of recording and putting episodes out there, refining your show that way, do a first season audio only, but make a commitment with yourself and your sisters. Like, okay, we're gonna do a first season, and then we're gonna turn on a camera. And then, there's lots of filters.
What is your show going to be about?
Yeah, what's your show gonna be about? Let us know, Elaine. Hopefully she's still here. And if not, I'm sure she'll be back with us.
She'll rewatch.
Yeah, she'll rewatch. So why don't we get to the juice of this episode?
So you want to grow your show here on YouTube in 2025, but you don't have any idea of what to do. Maybe you've been posting episodes on YouTube and they are not performing very well, and you find YouTube intimidating and confusing, and maybe I just bumped the microphone. I'm gonna have to start over. I apologize.
I was trying to do
like
the I'm confused face too. Maybe that wasn't good.
Okay, so I'm just gonna start over.
Yeah, I'll do the confused face too.
Okay. You want to
it's gonna mess you up. Okay, maybe I'll.
No, I'm fine. You want to grow your podcast here on YouTube, but you have no idea how. Maybe you've been posting your episodes here on YouTube, but they're not performing. They're not being shown to other people here on YouTube. You find YouTube intimidating, and you really want to learn how to help your show to perform here on YouTube. Well, this video is for you, because we're going to fix that. Your show, your message deserves to be in front of a lot of people, and YouTube is a great place for you to be posting your show and for you to be seeking your audience. And I'm going to tell you how. I'm going to tell you strategies. They're very simple to apply that will help you grow here on YouTube in 2025.
All right. And with that, let's get right to the strategies.
Okay, so
go ahead, bring me into it.
Before we get into the strategies, let's talk about YouTube. Like, why is it a good time for you to be posting your video podcast here on YouTube? Well, we have seen a shift from the short content that is causing ADHD to all of us. The scrolling content to a content that is more long format, conversational. We've seen that also on our own content here on YouTube. We do educational content, and we have deviated from the talking head, reading a teleprompter type of content, because that is not performing anymore. Here on YouTube, people want content that is more organic, more conversational. They want to feel that they're there with you. They want to feel that they're connecting with you. And what a better way than to have a video podcast where you just share your expertise, and following maybe an outline, or you have this conversational podcast because you have a co-host or you'll interview people. So this is a great time to be posting your video podcast here on YouTube for that reason. It's content that is relatively easy to make, because people, we are drawn to those human interactions, to those conversations, especially when there are topics that interest us. We see people having reactions to things like right there on the episode. There's not a lot of editing either, and that just makes it for a great content. And also, it's a very smart way to make content because you record your main episode, and from your main episode, then you can extract pieces of content that can be vertical videos that can go on social media, YouTube Shorts, and many different places. So that's why it's so good to. It's a very good idea, very smart idea to have your video podcast here on YouTube.
Yeah, and
people
also,
don't want more ChatGPT. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt you there. I was just going to say with YouTube as well, it's really kind of like the big contender in the world, the second largest search engine aside from Google, which owns YouTube. And also, in addition to that, maybe we could say then that it's a safer bet, you know. And in these times where TikTok was just taken away, and in these times where TikTok was just taken away, and we are like, you know, worried and concerned, and so many creators have had their lives just turned upside down for that reason. It's cool to also have YouTube for that reason. And then also specifically in 2025, it's strategized now that a lot of those TikTok audiences and creators are going to be coming to YouTube, where they're more supported in a platform that maybe is a little bit more trustworthy than TikTok is.
Yes, very, very good point. So my first strategy, let's move on to my first strategy. And that is context when it comes to creating your episodes, when it comes to creating your content. We are seeing that there's this shift from making content just to satisfy or to follow keywords and, you know, just bland keywords to make sure that your content performs on YouTube, from that to really give a different context to your topic, to your episodes. And so what am I talking about here? Like when it comes to like anything that you create, you may say like, oh, but my topic is so boring. I talk about, business. I talk about accounting. I talk about different things. So if you really think about the context that you are going to give to that piece of content, to that episode, or to your entire show, that can really make a difference in the way that your show performs on YouTube. And I have a few examples here, and I really want you to try this. So we all have this different needs as human, and they're like the same across the board. Like we have the need for connection and belonging. We have the need for security and stability. We have the need for purpose and fulfillment. And the more you can apply this basic human needs across the board to the content that you make, and just add this context to your content, no matter how dry and how boring, then the more your episodes will appeal to a wider audience on YouTube. And that's how you invite more people in. So let's see, let me give you a few examples. So let's say that you have, you're planning an episode and it's about how to network for your business. And that's the title that you're going to give it. And that's what is going to go on your thumbnail. But if we give a different context that has this human need of connection and belonging, then the title or the entire episode will be along the lines of how to build genuine relationships that grow your business. So from how to network for your business, now we're talking about building relationships, genuine relationships. Genuine relationships, which is, it's talking about that need of connection and belonging. Another one, if we want to use an example for security and stability, let's say that you're planning an episode that talks about budgeting tips for 2025. Okay, it tells me what it is. Like, it is not appealing to that need, so I may choose to watch it if it applies to anything that I'm looking for in the moment.
Maybe I want some budgeting tips for 2025.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm looking for. But if instead you approach that topic this way, how to create financial security without giving up what you love. Ooh, And all of a sudden, they're talking to me about financial security and about, I don't have to give up what I love. But the whole episode is about budgeting.
What's interesting here is the content itself hasn't really changed. The banter in the episode will be the same. The information that you give, the presentation will be very similar. It's just the packaging, just changing the context of the content.
Yes. So right here with budgeting tips for 2025, specifically for those who are thinking about budgeting. If you use the different approach to different contexts, how to create financial security without giving up what you love, it's appealing to a broader audience that all of a sudden they are curious to know what it is that you will be talking about. And then in your episode, you will be talking about budgeting, right?
Yes.
So great.
Really good stuff. So the big header with that one is context versus content.
So let's work through another example. Purpose and fulfillment. This is the basic need as humans. So let's say that your episode is about ways to volunteer in your community. Okay, that sounds good because I'm looking for those opportunities. But if instead you use how giving back can help you find your true purpose, and all of a sudden, like, okay, like I really want to learn this. I'm all about purpose and fulfillment, and I want to learn how I can contribute more and to find that purpose and fulfillment. And all of a sudden, if I wasn't interested in seeking how to volunteer, then being able to like tune into an episode like this and people talking to me about volunteering opportunities is going to put that in my head. So all of these things, like, and this can be titles for your episodes, and we're going to get into thumbnails and titles, is because we want to appeal to people in a way that they will click on our content. We need to stop making content that is rushed, that doesn't have strategy, and that we put out there and that it doesn't reach the people that it's supposed to reach. If anything, you should be honing into more strategy than to focus so much on your content and being so nitpicky.
Yes, nitpicky, or even that you need to be natural or improvisational because that's your thing. There's ways that you can fit in all of that creativity, all of that, any of the excuses that you're giving yourself for why you don't plan and why you don't strategize. It's actually, all of those are just sort of bad beliefs that are keeping your content from reaching more people, which is really to look strategically at. Now, and 2025 is more like that than ever. Veronica mentioned how the platforms are changing and how the trust factor is changing in the ways that people relate to their influencers online and the parasocial relationships that they build. So that's all shifting towards this new way of, we want to see people more fresh and more live and more the way that they really are. But underneath all of that, that's just the content itself, right? Underneath all of that, now you can take what you would think is a boring topic and make it appeal to a more generalist population, to the big population of people that aren't even interested in ant farms or swimming pool pumps. But if you just find a context that attaches to one of those human needs, those human desires, and arrange or angle your episode that way, you'll see tremendous growth on YouTube happen really quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And with that, let's move on to thumbnails and titles. And that is really the most important thing when it comes to your YouTube strategy. Because if you don't have a thumbnail and a title that is going to make people tap on your content and watch the whole thing, then your whole effort of creating content, of creating your episodes is going to go to waste. And I've been, educating myself when it comes to a thumbnail design and all that. And something that really got my attention was that sometimes what is recommended to us on YouTube, if we search for something on YouTube, you will have a list of videos that will populate. And sometimes, the first videos that will populate, the videos with more likes and views and all those metrics, they're not the best resource. Sometimes you have to dig deeper. But what do they have going for them is that they have the perfect thumbnail. They have a really good thumbnail and a really good title. And that's why people click into them. And that sends a message to YouTube that content is good, and YouTube will recommend it to more users on that platform. So that's why it makes sense, or that's why this is something that we should really, really slow down and pay attention to. Titles and thumbnails. So titles and thumbnails is the packaging of your content. Some YouTube experts will argue that if you don't have a good thumbnail and a good title, your thyroid. We're talking about your
If you don't have a good thyroid, then you cannot be on YouTube. I'm sorry. It's a prerequisite.
Yeah, some YouTube experts argue that if you start with the thumbnail and the title, and that's how your idea for that video should develop. That is not the other way around, that you don't record the content and then quickly, then look into the thumbnail design and what title should I use for this episode. Is the other way around. When you have an idea, make sure that you have a good thumbnail and title idea before you record that piece of content. And it sounds backwards, and it sounds restricting, and it sounds like, what am I doing here? Like, this is taking away from like the way that I like to record my podcast, and I just want this organic conversations and all that. And we've all been through that. But when it gets to a point where we are just tired of making the content and not seeing the results. And if you're there, then this is going to help you next time you are planning your episodes. Imagine the thumbnail. Imagine what people will click on. And I'm going to give you like some pointers when it comes to thumbnail design. So when it comes to thumbnail design, simplicity. You don't want to clutter your thumbnail with keywords, with too many words. Just keep it simple. Faces will perform. However, the making the that screaming at you type of thing is not going to perform anymore. A lot of storytelling elements on the thumbnails. It's important. You have a very limited space when it comes to creating your thumbnail, so make sure that you use it wisely. But all of the elements inside your thumbnail should support the main idea or the main topic that you will address in the episode. No more posting episodes with no thumbnails. That's just a big no-no. Like, I've seen so many podcast creators here on YouTube, they upload their episodes and they don't use thumbnails. And the usually the thumbnail that YouTube choose for them is just a really bad angle of what they recorded, or their interview, their remote interview where your guest didn't look its best. And that's what is chosen. So no more of that. Bright colors. If you're going to use text, use no more than 3 or 4 words. You don't have to repeat your title on your thumbnail. You can use your thumbnail to add to the storytelling or to elaborate a little bit more of what your title says. And something that's been working for me, because I do this for my clients a lot, is that I go through the entire episode. You don't need to, if your episodes are an hour and a half, 2 hours, then you don't need to, rewatch them or any of that. You can just get the transcript and run it through ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT if there's anything controversial that was said during the episode, or if there's anything that will really capture the attention of your audience. And then you can use that piece of like controversial idea and put it on your thumbnail. So what is this doing? It's kind of like opening the story loop. You want to know like what caused their reaction. What is that person saying about that topic? Why did this person say that? And that's how I'm getting to get more clicks for my client, just because I'm doing this.
Yeah, I love that. So you type into ChatGPT, you say, Chappie, I call ChatGPT Chappie, by the way. Can you look through this transcript, and this will be the prompt, right? Can you look through this transcript and find the most controversial or shocking or sensational quotes that the speaker said in this transcript and give them to me in 5 or 6 words max. And then what happens is you wind up getting a really cool response from that, quotes directly from your episode. And many of them, if you just put those on the thumbnail, that's a really cool Veronica hack.
Yes. And yeah, get creative. You can test your thumbnails. I don't know if that's available for channels all sizes, but because I've been doing that with my clients. Now there's this feature inside YouTube when you're uploading your episodes that you can upload up to 3 thumbnails, and then YouTube will show those 3 thumbnails, will test them with your audience and see which thumbnail got more clicks.
And then it determines the winner, and the winner stays there after the test is complete.
And then you'll know.
Yeah, really cool marketing techniques there. You used to have to get third-party plugins for your Google Chrome to make that happen, and YouTube just integrated that for you.
Yes. So when it comes to titles, best practices is not, don't use, episode so-and-so, season so-and-so, interview with Veronica. This is if you are a beginner. So you want to avoid doing this because you have limited characters in your title, and you want to make sure that what you're putting there is stuff that has keywords, and also that is going to generate curiosity and that people want to click on the title because because it's a good title. And when you give me the episode number and the season, like that's not really creating any curiosity for anybody. So, and then, interview with Veronica. If I'm famous, you can use my name because people will be searching for me on YouTube.
Careful, the last time you did that in my famous head swing thing, you threw your neck
Yeah,
out.
so that's why I didn't do it so violent.
So passionately.
Yeah,
and even if you are famous or your guest, you got that big wig industry person on your podcast, their name still is not going to be the most generalist thing. Like the most famous person in the world still isn't completely a generalist name. Like you might think that everybody knows who Leonardo DiCaprio is, but maybe your Gen Z kids don't. And, maybe, so if you just put Leonardo DiCaprio after, like at the end of your title, it's not the main title.
Yes. So you want to put your main keywords at the beginning of the title. So for example, if let's say that you have a podcast that it's about marriage, and I have some examples here. So I'll say how I fix my marriage. So fix a marriage, it's relatively at the beginning of the title. And then you add the person. So let's say that the person is this really well-known, life coach or marriage coach or whatever. And this happens to one of our students in our community. They created an episode around the time where the same guest was interviewed on the Huberman podcast. So because of that episode on the Huberman Lab podcast, it got so many views. It kind of went viral. Then they got a bunch of views on the episode that they published, that interview that they published with the same expert. So that's another strategy that you can apply. Like if you are interviewing people on your show, make sure that you time that. If you can ask that person, well, did you do an interview, lately? And then you can see, if those creators are bigger than you, if they have a bigger audience, then you can time the release of that because that a lot of people will be watching that same episode from this huge podcast that gets millions of views with millions of subscribers, and then you can like ride that wave with that guest.
Yeah, and in terms of riding the wave, you're also riding the YouTube suggesting algorithm wave, because YouTube's algorithm is smart enough to know people by their names and also by the format of a podcast. So a whole audience just watched this guest on the Huberman Lab. So now they likely, on their up next suggesting videos that YouTube's going to suggest to them next, they'd likely be interested in a podcast episode again, and also this guest being interviewed on another podcast. So that's the other reason the hack is very effective.
Yes. Another strategy that you can use for your titles is to another strategy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another strategy that you can use for your titles is that really use like human psychology. What makes us curious? For example, you can say, instead of like the I support, or apply the no for marriage rule to your marriage, or you can like really create curiosity, saying what happened when we tried a no for marriage rule. So you want to know what happened? Did it work? ¿Se arrancaron los pelos? They were fighting all the time? Or did it help? Or what happened, right? You can use also the fear of missing out. Don't make these mistakes when starting your podcast. It's like, oh, okay, well, I don't want to miss out on this information. I want to know, because I don't want to make the same mistakes. Or you can appeal to like emotion. How I rebuilt my confidence after losing everything. Another great title. 5 simple changes to transform my fitness journey. So you are giving them a number. So it means that, the brain immediately likes it, because it's like, okay, 5 things, I have this under control. It's not going to be anything complicated. My other strategy, let's move on. We're cruising.
We're cruising through this.
Quickly, is intros that hook viewers. Please. Don't record these long-winded intros. I know that this is a podcast. I know this is conversational. I know you want to chat about your week. I know that you want to share about, what happened to you when you went to the movies to watch Baby Girl.
You're getting better when people like steal your parking spot. You don't get as enraged anymore. Like, oh, how you doing this week, Henry? I'm doing great. Another person stole my parking spot again, and I'm over it, and
So make your intros short.
Yeah, make them short. You can get to the banter after the fact.
You can get to the banter.
And you could do a catch-up segment maybe more in the middle of your episode. And this is where editing is really cool. And you can record, like if you need that moment to connect with your guest, because that's part of it too, right? Is when we're, especially virtually, sometimes you get a bigwig on your show and you've never met them before. Most of the time you've never met your guests. So there needs to be this time where you get to know each other. You can record that, and you should record that, but it doesn't mean that it has to wind up in the edit, and that it definitely doesn't have to start the episode. Find some meat in the episode somewhere. And all good filmmakers know that too, and storytellers. I think, wasn't it Aristotle that said, like, start way back, like 3,000 years ago or whatever, said start the story in the middle, start the story in the action.
Aristoteles. Aristoteles. So there's a reason for this, because the first 60 seconds of your episode, they're very important. And because this will tell YouTube if your content is worth to be suggested. So we get that, the first impression, the thumbnail and the title. And the thumbnail and the title create an expectation. And they want to start fulfilling that expectation. Our brains, we want that to be fulfilled right away once we click. And you may have experienced this. You click on a video and they just start talking about things that were not in the thumbnail or the title. They start talking about personal stuff and you start losing your patience. So this is what we want to avoid. You want to start with what you will deliver in that episode and what the promise is, and you want to start with that first point right away to get people to stay, and then that will send the signal to YouTube that piece of content is good, because you have it down, you have a good thumbnail, you have a good title, and then you got their attention.
Yes.
And then you're good to go.
Yes. And then basically, I used to divide YouTube strategy into the gold stars of the algorithm. And if you want to understand the gold stars of the algorithm, all you got to do is open up the YouTube Studio app on your phone. And YouTube does a really good job of telling you how to perform better. And the gold stars are CTR, which stands for click-through rate. And then, so that's the thumbnail and the title. And that's like everything. If they don't click, they don't watch. And then the next gold star is audience retention. And what you'll see is this quick dip that happens. And if viewers are watching your video on YouTube, if the majority of the people who click on your video watch after 60 seconds, like Veronica mentioned, that is a huge gold star. YouTube is going to show that will ignite the sharing algorithm and the suggesting algorithm. YouTube's going to be like, whoa, everybody who watches this video watches it for over a minute. That doesn't seem like a lot for an hour-long episode, but that first minute is critical.
Yeah, it is pretty critical. So how do you want to start your episodes? Just with what you're going to deliver. So in this episode, we're going to learn how we can improve our marriage. And first, we're going to talk about how not to use, smartphones when we go out on dates. The second one is active communication. And the third one is to alone time, having time alone away from kids. And let's jump into the episode. Also, you can start your episode with a story. So I went through this really rough patch with my wife or with my husband. And it was really, really rough. And the way that we got out of it, it will surprise you. But we had to go through a lot of ups and downs, and we figured it out. And in this video or in this episode, I'm going to share with you how we did it. Let's just dive into it. Storytelling, opening the story loop.
Providing a little bit of a roadmap, a little bit of what to expect, and also promising a payoff. And so I know the storytelling thing, a lot of coaches, a lot of people, you hear it all over the place, like use storytelling to make your content perform better. And it seems like elusive and weird. How am I supposed to apply the 3-act hero journeys story structure to a podcast episode? But it's more natural the more you practice. And it's just really like, okay, I know what I'm going to cover in this episode. Where could I start? Where's the meat? And what would most people find the most interesting? And then start with a question, pose a question, start with a hook, open up some kind of story. Have you ever wondered why some marriages succeed and some don't? It's like, is there something special? Are there personalities that are just destined not to be together? Or can we make it work? And that's something we want to explore together in this episode. So I hope you're ready and along for the ride.
Yeah.
There's that compared to, hey, Darlene, how have you been doing this week? Give me the update. I'm gone in 10 seconds.
I know that there's a lot of you thinking, but Joe Rogan takes 10 minutes.
It's Joe Rogan.
That, the Hooverman spends 10 minutes talking about sponsors, and they don't get to the episode right away. When you get to the size of these people, which let's just dream big. Let's just dream that we will. You're going to get to
that size, yes.
When you get to that size, then at that point, it doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter because, at that point, you have some SEO momentum, and then your audience will put up with whatever you do because and
they also just learn to skip that stuff. And they learn to just move right on beyond the advertisements, or they just kind of zone out while they're being advertised to, or they buy the stuff that the host is talking about as well. But yeah, right now, especially when you're small and when you're growing, we really have to increase and have our first priority be the user's experience. I say user because they could be listening or watching. We really want to give them a cool experience, a cool new insights, and package our episode in a way that's going to, allow it to perform better on YouTube.
Yes. And one of my favorite ways, if you have to choose between one or the other, just be straight and tell them what they're going to get. or storytelling, I would go with storytelling. And here's an example. If I tell you, these are the things that you should do when you are at a networking event. If you are someone who is an introvert, right? Very straightforward. But if you start the episode with imagine you paid a premium ticket to be at this very important conference, when you know that the people that you want to connect with, the industry leaders you want to connect with, will be there. You arrived and you freak out. You arrive and then you freeze. What do you do in that moment? Well, like all of a sudden, like there's this connection. If I am an introvert, I'm feeling it. I'm like, I have this event coming up. I can see myself doing that. And so that stories, we connect through stories. So, and podcasting is just a beautiful, beautiful medium for you to share stories and to connect with stories. So you can start with that. Okay?
Very good
Let's
tip.
move on to
good tip.
To the next one, which is leveraging long and short form content. And that is just pretty much for you to record your long episodes in a way that you can extract short clips from your episode. So when you are thinking about planning your whole episode, make sure that your episode is divided in chunks. So later your editor can get a chunk of that episode. It can be 60 seconds. It can be, for YouTube Shorts up to 3 minutes. And then you will have more content to distribute on social media, here on YouTube.
Yeah, so this is also a hack for this with interview style shows, would just be dividing it up into 3 to 5 main questions. Mm-hmm. So then the whole episode covers all 5 of those questions, which is under the umbrella of the whole episode. But now you have those 5 questions you can choose from that make for perfect vertical videos or even standalone short videos that you can share to YouTube and Spotify.
Yes. And so let me give you an example. If let's say that your episode is about how I saved my marriage, then you can divide the episode and, maybe 3 or 4. I would encourage you to do 3, because when you say more than 3, 4, 5, then, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then the brain just goes somewhere else. No, 2 or 1. So keep it to 3.
Yeah, I already went somewhere else. I'm gone.
He's already, I'm almost done. So then let's say that that episode is, the first topic or the first subtopic is prioritize open communication. And then the other one is practice active listening. And then, and then another one. So you will have those 3, those 3 subtopics that your editor can use to get your vertical videos or your short form content. This is something that that experienced podcasters do really well. An example of that is the Mel Robbins podcast. That woman knows about content, marketing. Mm-hmm. She knows, and the way that she asks the questions and the way that she interrupts is because each question is something that she knows will perform well on YouTube.
Yeah, and oftentimes she's done the keyword research. She knows what people are searching for. Mm-hmm. And again, you're taking advantage of the SEO if those questions or those subtopics can be search queries that people are searching for. And then, and just if you go to the Mel Robbins podcast right now on YouTube, you'll see that. You'll have a full length 1.5 hour episode, but then you'll have a little 11-minute one and a little 12-minute one. Those were just part of that same full length episode. Mm-hmm. It's a really cool strategy to up the quantity of content that you're putting out, and to distribute more with this very small extra amount of work.
Yes, exactly. And with that, I hope that you get all of these strategies and you start applying them right away. I would love to hear your thoughts about this strategy. If you're using it already, make sure that you leave all those comments in the comment section below.
Yeah. And what questions do we have for those of you who are here? Again, if you are just tuning in, I know that we have people come in and out of these live streams. we got you right now. You're here. Perfect moment. We're here to answer any questions you have. Elaine is actually still here. At least she was a little bit ago. Maybe now she's not. And she says, it's Elaine again. Still here. Your accent didn't drive me away. There are actually a few accents in Kentucky, oddly enough. I wonder if that was one of them.
We're gonna have to connect.
And concerning the podcast with my sisters, the content will be reviewing childhood movies, which is really fun. And now this, reviewing childhood movies, I love that you brought that up right now in terms of what we are discussing, because we were talking about context versus content, right? And a lot of us love movies, obviously, and pop culture. And it seems like that's like one of the for beginning podcasters, that's like the favorite place for us to start. In fact, that's where I started, was with a movie podcast. But you'll quickly learn that it can be hard to, with that content, to make it perform well unless you kind of can give it some context. So already it's childhood movies, you have that context there. But now you can explore different ways and like what those movies meant to you and your sisters, obviously, and then like what those movies mean to your viewers because of that. And the movies themselves become kind of this vehicle for deeper human conversations. And then that, just looking at like, it's not just about us talking about our movies or our childhood. It's also about like, how does this, like, everyone can relate to these childhood movies, especially in our demographic, right? If they're in our age group and they've seen these movies, but like, what is it that it's really touching on? And how can we expand it and make it even bigger would be my thoughts on that. It doesn't look like since then we've had any other questions
I
pop
have
up.
comments.
Oh, comments?
Yeah, I see comments.
I see. Yeah, there's comments. We did have this one from Build, Learn, and Grow. It says, glad I tuned in today. This is great value. The packaging and strategy takeaways are huge. Storytelling also. I struggle with a lot of these. Thanks for sharing those tips and hacks.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
I still didn't catch your name.
Just try it.
Just try it. But definitely keep coming to these live streams with your questions. And also suggestions of what content you'd like to see us do and cover in these live streams. Any other questions, make sure you drop them in here. Now, as part of our tradition here with our Saturday live streams, we're on to our third segment.
Yeah, I was going to send this.
Send this one off?
Yes.
Before we move on to the third segment, Veronica's going to send this one off.
You are distributing your podcast here on YouTube, but you really want to be on other platforms. Maybe you want to distribute your video podcast on Spotify because you haven't been doing so. Well, we explain how to do it step by step with Spotify for creators, and you can find that video right here. Go watch it, follow the steps. You'll be good to go on Spotify.
Ooh, did you see what she just did there? She just recorded a little spot for our editors.
Yes.
That's a cool little hack. I don't think it really interrupted the experience we're having here live together either, which is pretty cool. Obviously, there wasn't a video you could click on. So maybe you're like, what is she talking about?
So because this is going to be turned into a video that you can come and watch later.
Yes, with all sorts of fun text animations, the ums and uhs removed and things to make it more contextualized with a hook and to build in and practice everything that we preach. It's been a lot of years coming to that for us, where if we would just follow the advice that we give our clients and students, then we would have seen a lot more growth in terms of our own content creation and content marketing efforts, right? So 2025 has been a year for us to follow our own advice. And in tradition of our live stream Saturdays, Content Sancocho, we're going to take another intermission, and about 3 to 5 minutes, we will pop back. And this time, we're done with how to grow your video podcast on YouTube. The next subtopic we are going to get into is the very sought after question that everybody's got on their mind. Okay, you got me convinced. I'm going to get into this video podcasting, but what camera should I get? And this is really exciting stuff. We're going to talk about cameras. We're going to talk about lenses. We're going to see how each of these cameras perform. If I have the prices readily available, I will also share some of that stuff. And we're going to break it into consumer, prosumer, and professional. So no matter what your budget is, you'll be good to go. So don't go anywhere. Come right back. And we will be right back with you to talk all about the best cameras for video podcasting.
Nice.
Martita! Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed your quick potty break or grabbed, well, it's probably too late for coffee if you want to sleep tonight. If you're on the East Coast, where are you tuning in from? Let us know. We are back at it, and this time we are going to finish.
Our friend Ralph from South Carolina. We're in North Carolina.
Yeah, we're in North Carolina too. Is it Rafe? I think it's Rafe. Raf from South Carolina. Try that accent for podcasts, or try that accent. Oh, the South Carolina accent. Oh, I don't know. Maybe South Carolina. I don't know. Is that pretty good? Oh,
is it close to?
No, it all just comes down to the same. I'm really bad at accents, but it all comes down to the lips. But for podcast, is that the strategy where the meat of the content is clipped and put at the beginning of the episode, hook the viewer still work? Yes, so that's cool. And I think what you are talking about, there's a couple different things. Can be a really cool technique. And so what you're asking, I wish I could do it in a South Carolina accent, but what you're asking is, does create like different clips or highlights, you could say, throughout your podcast, and then put those at the beginning of the episode as to entice and tell the stories. There's two different things. One of them, actually one of our editors calls it a stinger, which I love, even though a stinger in the film industry is what they call extension cables. But I guess in podcast editing, it's that little hook you put at the beginning. But a stinger is usually just one or two lines. Maybe it's like a funny moment or a highlight or like some epiphany that the host and the co-host talked about. The next step above just like a quick highlight would be an episode trailer. And for that, the really cool example would be the Diary of the CEO podcast on YouTube. I believe that the episode trailers and the extra budget and time and effort that they put into the episode trailers on that podcast have a lot to do with the growth and the popularity of that podcast. And if you haven't checked out that podcast, it's worth checking out just for that reason, for that in the context of this conversation. And that is, the editor spends a lot of time finding and building a really cool story. And then also one of the elements they include are cliffhangers. So they say like, just the host is about to really tell the peak of the story. They're about to spill the beans, but then right before they do, they cut it off with like a sound effect or something. So episode trailers, a tremendous way and hack to get people past that 1 minute to 2 minute chunk. So yes, absolutely. And then finally, I'll say on this topic, because there's a lot of people who frankly don't have it in their budget right now to afford an editor or a good editor. And so they have to edit themselves. Maybe they also want to edit for a while just so they can speak the language and they can also get into it for so they know how to talk to their editor and they know they're going to graduate to get an editor. For that reason, one thing you can do if you don't have a lot of time every week to edit is you can rely a little bit on the AI fixes to remove some long pauses and filler words for you. And then just spend your time in the edit on that first few minutes. Make sure that first few minutes is really dynamic. Cut out all the ums and uhs of that first few minutes. Take a lot of liberties and cut to the chase, right? Get to some exciting meat. And then you can start lessening and loosening up with the edit. A lot of editors will do that actually with their clients as just part of their standard editing tier. That's just like, I'm going to go through it, I'll clean it up, but I'm not going to put like this level of what you would say like high dynamic editing love into the whole episode. For that, you would have to pay me premium rates. But I will do it for the first couple minutes so you get that audience retention. So yes, absolutely. And hopefully Rafe, one of those has got to be the right pronoun. Raf, right? Hopefully that's good information for you.
Raphael.
Oh yeah, maybe it comes from Raphael, and then I'll work on my Southern Carolina accent.
Okay, so are we all ready to learn about the best cameras for video podcasting? Drop an emoji in the chat. Any emoji, the heart emoji, the smiling emoji, the fireworks emoji, the 100% emoji. Just drop an emoji. Are you still here with us?
Let us know.
I'm gonna drop one.
We need to see those emojis.
The 100% emoji. The comment.
Let us know.
Comment in the chat. We need some audience participation.
We do.
Because at this point in the live stream, like we're starting to get a little tired, But then all of the emojis will give us a lot of.
They'll give us the encouragement
energy.
to keep going.
No emojis. They're being
Well, we are on a latency.
they're being emoji shy.
We're like a minute and a half ahead.
Okay,
of
well, I
time.
want those emojis.
Yes, Veronica wants the emojis. All right, please, for the sake of my safety here. You're not with her in the
Somebody's
same
going
location.
to pay if I'm not getting emojis.
And it's going to be me. It's going to be this guy. He's going to pay.
And my kids.
Please give her some emojis. My God, is it so much? So, are you ready, Veronica?
I am.
The best cameras for video podcasting are also the best cameras for streaming. And that's because we need a camera that we can plug into our computer and that won't shut off on us in the middle of our recording. So in this video, we are going to separate. Let me take that again. So in this video, we are going to share with you PSS Creative Media's top picks for video podcast cameras. And we're going to separate it into 3 categories: consumer, prosumer, and professional. That way, no matter what your budget is, by the end of this video, you will know what camera is perfect for your situation. All right, you ready to get to it? Let's go. So that was my intro for the video. What do you guys think? I'm getting better at these live intros.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay, well, they're hard on me. I don't know why. I can talk nonsense for
Nonsense.
So we're going to have a lot of fun in this video, in this segment, this part of the live stream. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk everything cameras. And as I mentioned, we are going to separate it into consumer, prosumer, and professional. And really you could almost break that down into prices, into a dollar amount, really. And things under $1,000, right? That's where we're at with consumer. As we start to venture above that, then we get into more of a professional option. So is everyone ready to just learn about this? It's not rocket science. We're just going to get into it. And we're also going to allow you to see Veronica and I actually speak and present some of the information of this video through the cameras and the lenses that we're talking about, so that you could also be the judge as you're making your decision which camera you want to get and how much you're willing to spree for a camera, which one would be right for you. What's really cool in the case of this live stream is that there isn't any processing on this video. It's just going straight to you. And so you really do get a sense of what the camera looks like. When you see the replay of this video later, all cut up and on YouTube, our editors use skin retouching, a touch of that, and also some color correction, just kind of bring and make the image pop a little bit more. So that may not give you but that also gives you an idea of the camera too, like how well will the camera perform for post-production purposes? Is this camera, the quality that this camera records, does it allow me to add things like color correction and skin softening to it later? Or is it going to look really bad when it comes time for that post-production stage to do that? So these are all questions that we're going to explore together. I'm going to do my best to keep it as eloquent as Veronica has been doing. And quickly, I'm going to let her give any 2 cents she needs so I can find where I put my water.
Oh, so, and I'm putting together this really cool poll so you can vote and let us know which one is your favorite. I'm going to put them in order, and then when we are done showing you all of the cameras, then I'll drop it in the chat, and you can tell us which one is your favorite. Okay,
cool. Yeah, let us know which one is your favorite as far as the camera that you'll see, like which one is your favorite that way. Now, it doesn't count I know that you're probably going to choose the ones that Veronica's on. Maybe I need to hop over to her because I know she's your favorite. But, but actually just look at the camera quality, okay? All right, so first up, let's start with the consumer cameras. And for this, really, all you need to get started video podcasting is your phone. And the Apple ads that come out and also Google Pixel, they're all chasing camera technology. And it really is quite amazing on the phones. You could get some amazing quality images from your phone. And with specific with the iPhones and the Apple phones, those actually will work if you have an Apple laptop computer as a continuity camera, and you can use your phone like you would a web camera. So that would be absolutely what we would call the consumer place to start. We all have a phone anyway, so maybe that wouldn't even be an expense for you. And your phone's likely on a lease, right? The next consumer option that you have to start a video podcast are the cameras that come with your laptop. Now, only recently have companies really started investing a little bit more money into those cameras. And actually, the new Mac Pros get 1080p, and the video that you'll get from that laptop camera is really cool. So that's definitely worth experimenting with here. The point that I'm making here is I don't want, wherever you're at with your budget or the process, I do not want you to get hung up on this camera choice before you just start creating. Start creating today. If you haven't yet, start making some episodes, even if they're just mock episodes. You have a phone, you have a computer, so there's no excuses. Now, when we want to start expanding a little more, then we can get into something like a web camera. For that, we love this Logitech, Veronica calls it. I love how she says Logitech. I just have to point that out because it's...
If Logitech is watching, I would like a sponsorship.
We need to be keeping a Veronica journal about this. This one is the Logi Brio.
Logitech
and
Brio.
The Brio, they have some Logi also. Logitech also has some really cool options for, I think it's called the Vlogger. Those are pretty cool as well too. They get very comparable quality to this. These are great beyond the laptop camera for one reason, and that's that it's actually separate from the camera. So it allows you to move it around and actually set up the exact shot that you want. Here we also are talking about scene composition. And with scene composition, I can actually display it using this Logi camera here. Let me just put it on my computer. So here's the Logi camera. Here's the Logitech Brio camera. And as you can see, it's actually set up on my computer. And this is what it looks like. Now, it has all sorts of auto adjustments to it. And so it's going to adjust to the light accordingly. And these cameras seem to work a lot better, like the closer you get to them. But with this camera is a great way to illustrate this idea of scene composition that I'm talking about. And this is something so quick that you can do with your guests, is to say, especially virtually, this is a big hack. When you get your guests virtually on, you could say, hey, I always like to start my interviews off with a sound check and a camera check. I noticed that the camera appears to be lower than your eyesight. So as a general rule of thumb with this type of content, we want the camera to be at eyesight, at eye level, about. It could be down here a little bit or up here. Actually, if it's up a little more. But actually if you look at filmmaking techniques and if you look at the different ways a camera angle approaches our subject, a lot of that can be for real symbolistic purposes. And when you want to make a character seem really menacing, you put the camera lower. And when you want to make a character seem kind of insecure, you put the camera at a higher angle. So those things actually come into play with our shots when we're making our content. The other thing, though, more basic than that, perhaps because I'm getting off a little bit on some of this stuff, is just the generalized scene composition. So tip number one is eye level. Get the camera, no matter what kind of camera it is, at about eye level. And then the scene itself, once it's eye level, you don't want the head to be in the center. And that's kind of like where we all start, is we put our head right in the middle. I don't know if it's because it's a circular shape, so it seems like it fit, that's where it should go. But actually, no, you want to come up, and you want your head to be just a couple inches there of headroom above you there. You also don't want the camera, like I mentioned, coming to at this angle, looking up your nostrils. This is what we get a lot when we connect with our guests on Riverside. It's like,
you don't want to show the hair in your
You also don't want to do the Calvo shot up here.
Pelos.
This also probably wouldn't be the best shot either. And hopefully you see what I'm illustrating there. We want to take some time with our own camera to make sure that the scene composition is good. So what do you think of the Logitech Brio? Its quality, and this is very affordable. What's great about the Logitech Brio, like I said, is you can plug it into your computer and it can be away from your computer at quite a distance. This is really nice, especially if you want to do a 2-person podcast or you just want to show more of your body, but you still need your computer and your keyboard to be near you. Then the Logitech's the next step up. Now from the Logitech, we got to move on, and I'm going to pass it to you, Veronica, so I can get the ZV-1 set up.
Okay.
And while I'm getting that set up, maybe you can comment on the Logitech or anything you want to comment on.
So the Logitech is my go-to camera when it comes to meeting with clients through Zoom, when maybe I need to record a quick tutorial. But if I want that richness in the video, if I want the detail, if I want to look more professional, then using a better camera. And we're going to get to the cameras that we use here that are pretty cool when you get to attach lenses to them.
And Raf asked us if the Logitech was 4K, and supposedly it is 4K, I believe, isn't it? Yeah, the Logitech Brio is 4K. However, the footage itself, I'm not super excited about the 4K. Kind of like the 4K on an iPhone. It's not like really impressive. I don't know why they would call it 4K. I know that's the dimensions, but the pixels inside of the dimensions, they just don't allow for that post-processing in a primo way. But yeah, it is 4K. So it is a good option for that reason. The next guy on the list, and this is where perhaps now we're still in consumer territory, is the very popular Sony ZV-1. These guys are very popular, thought of as a vlogging camera. What's really cool about these cameras is that you can very easily adjust some settings in the menu that will allow it just to stay operated. Now, there is a video podcasting hack that you'll need to know about the Sony ZV-1, and that is that, and now I forgot because I looked over at Veronica and she gave me a funny face, and it was a good funny face.
I thought I was being reassuring.
It was a great face, but it confused me. I lost my train of thought. The video podcasting hack that you're going to need to do with this, and this goes for all cameras, and that is you got to get a dummy battery. So the Sony cameras actually have all of the Sony cameras, and we'll explore more of that. They do actually have on them first they have the HDMI output, as this one does. It's just not getting into focus. There we go. The Sony ZV-1. So first they do have an HDMI output, but they also, next to that, have a plug for a USB. And that's a way that you can actually charge the battery inside the camera. So right out of the box, you can use your camera. But and that will keep your battery charged while it's on, but it will get really hot and it will overheat the camera pretty quickly. So really with video podcasting and any kind of production in terms of podcasting, we got to get what's called a dummy battery. So we will be leaving a link for the dummy battery for the ZV-1 also. Make sure you pick that up with this as well. The dummy battery will take place of the battery. Below it, it plugs in. And then this thing will never turn off. And we've tested it. This thing will stay on for hours, which is amazing. And so that's the one hack for video podcasting you'll need to know about this. And now let me get this set up over here on Veronica, and we can look at what it looks like.
And are you gonna talk about recording directly into the camera and all that?
Oh, I can talk about that too, yes.
And using it as a webcam?
Yes. So here we are. As you can see, this is the shot of Veronica through the ZV-1. I think it looks pretty cool. The other thing about the ZV-1 is it has zooming capabilities to it. And you'll see as I zoom in here, it zooms in on her. This increases the focal length, which will actually subtly make the background a little bit blurrier. But look, even as I'm zoomed, you probably can't hear me very well. But look, even as I'm zoomed in on Veronica, the background is still pretty detailed, especially if you compare it to this other Sony camera here where the background is very blurred out. So the blurry background effect that we love about real photography cameras is not something that we're going to really achieve very strongly with the ZV-1. The only way to achieve a blurry background effect with the ZV-1 is to be very close to the camera. And let's see if I can illustrate that with myself here. As you can see now, the background is getting a little blurrier there. But still, I mean, there's a lot of detail in that background compared to some of the other Sony cameras. So the Sony ZV-1 is a really great all-around workhorse of a camera. I really like the Sony ZV-1 for for a wide shot that includes both the guest and the co-host. So when you upgrade later, you're still going to have use for the Sony ZV-1. And when we're making purchasing decisions with gear, I always like to ask myself, when I upgrade, will this piece of gear just stay on a shelf or wind up that I'll never use it again? And if the answer is yes, I usually save up a little more funds and just get the more expensive thing. But the Sony ZV-1 can be plugged in easily into a computer. But like any of the Sony cameras that we're going to discuss, you will need a way of plugging it into the computer because computers don't have HDMI inputs. Don't be confused by the HDMI plug you see on your MacBook Pros. Those are HDMI outputs. That's a way that you can hook up an HDMI screen to your laptop. That is not an HDMI input. So the HDMI cable that comes out, it's a little micro or mini HDMI cable. You'll have to get a mini cable that goes to a full-size HDMI cable. Then you'll need an adapter, and the adapter is the CamLink 4K adapter. We will also leave the link for that in the description as well too. That adapter will actually convert the HDMI to USB, which then can be read by your computer. So now you're cooking. So now you can use the Sony ZV-1 with any app on your computer and it will show up as a camera source. This is really cool for video podcasting because you can use Descript, you can use Riverside, you can even use Zoom. You can use this camera with Zoom now. And what's really cool about that, since this thing will never turn off, is now you can plug in your USB microphone into your computer as well. And in whatever application or solution you're in, you select the Sony ZV-1 as an input device and you select your USB microphone as an input device. And the audio and video will be synced together and you won't have to do any of that syncing in post-production. The other question that we get all the time about this is, well, what about the SD card that comes with the Sony ZV-1 camera? Can I just record my podcast directly into the camera? If you do with the Sony ZV-1, you'll be shut off after 30 minutes if you're recording in 4K, and you'll be shut off after 60 minutes if you're recording in 1080p. It'll just shut off. It'll stop recording. That's kind of a bummer. We used to actually do that ourselves quite a lot. So we would set a timer either on our phone or we actually got a little timer, little kitchen timer, and it would go off after 30 minutes and we'd have to stop what we were doing and press record again. And we would just have 2 different takes. Not the end of the world, totally feasible. Actually, the little break sometimes after 20 or 30 minutes can be nice to kind of take a drink of water and then get back into the episode. So those are some things to consider. You can record directly into the SD card. But usually with video podcasting, it's better just to record directly into your computer in one way or another. There will be a little bit of quality loss that you'll notice. So if I were to record this ZV-1 that we see Veronica through right now, which by the way looks really nice. It's clear, a lot of color, a lot of vibrance. What do you guys think about that? I think it looks really nice. But if obviously this is plugged into my computer or you wouldn't be seeing it. And if I record it to my computer, and we've done a lot of tests on this, the quality that I get into my computer will be subtly a lot less actually versus the quality you get to the SD card. So if production quality is your highest priority, then you may want to separate your episode into takes and record directly onto your SD card, which means you'll have to record your audio separately somewhere too, in some type of a digital audio workstation, GarageBand, Reaper, or directly into Descript. And then later in the edit, you'll have to replace the bad camera audio that's on the ZV-1, and it will be pretty bad with the primo good podcast audio. Are you with me? Does that make sense? Don't let it overcomplicate you. It's a lot easier than you think. You just need to get the camera, plug it into your computer, and we've got videos we'll help you all along the way. So that's the ZV-1. And I'm going to switch it to Veronica on the ZV-1 to have her talk about the ZV-1 as I apply some of this lip product to my lips.
So can we drop something in the chat so I know that you guys are with this?
So Raph says,
what do you think is the quality between the difference in quality between the I was just scratching my nose. I just realized that when you switched to me.
Well, Raph says that he likes that it doesn't blur after zooming. Mm-hmm. I think that that depends on what you're going for. If you do want to continue to see what's in the background, now here's another consideration. Many of us will have a sign or something that we get made up, or maybe you want to do a whiteboard presentation. It could actually be annoying that the camera does this, that the big fancy lenses do this. So The one thing that I did not mention about the ZV-1 is that the lens is attached to it. It has a built-in Zeiss lens, very high quality, but it's attached to it. It's a zoom lens. You can't take it off of the camera. What you get, what you see is what you get with that. So cool. With that, I don't see any other questions about the ZV-1. Now I'll move back to this camera here, and I'm going to switch the camera over to the next camera, switch this HDMI output so that we can look at it. And that is really, I guess you could say like what would you call it? Because it's the same as the ZV-1, but it's like the upgraded version.
It's the upgraded version.
Like the older brother or the big sister.
We're getting into the detachable lenses territory, which is so fun when it comes to optics.
Yeah, so now that's the end of consumer territory. So with the consumer territory, now we're getting up into prosumer. And that is with the next camera on the list. And this is really our go-to. This is really what we strongly recommend as an introductory video podcast camera. It's our top pick for 2025, and it's the Sony ZV-E10. A little bit more spendy than the ZV-1, but it comes with the body only, and then you can choose to purchase a lens to go with it. So now the reason we're getting into this prosumer territory is, in addition to the expense of the camera, you're also going to need the expense of the lens, and lenses get very expensive. And as you climb up the ladder from consumer to top professional cameras, the lenses get more and more expensive, and it's for a reason. They look delicious and they have lots of qualities that I'll explain as we get to those. Now, there is one element that might make your brain shut off when I talk about it. And I want to avoid too much of the tech talk here in terms of the specs. This isn't a specs overview of these cameras. We just want to tell you the best video podcasting camera. Know, however, that we have taken all of the specs into deep consideration for ourselves and also for our clients, and we've experimented a lot. So the Sony ZV-E10 is one of the Sony cameras that falls into the category of a crop sensor. What is a sensor and what is a crop sensor? Let's just scratch that off so you know, so that will help you in your purchasing decisions. A sensor is essentially the digital film that's being exposed. A sensor is what's capturing the image. The higher quality the sensor, the higher quality the digital conversion will be of that image. That's all it is, really. And a crop sensor is actually going to crop in on the image quite a bit. But a crop sensor has other phenomenon that it makes happen. As it turns out, when you're using a crop sensor camera, that's actually going to reduce the depth of field effect, you could call it, or that blurry background. So when you're using any camera that has a crop sensor, you won't be able to achieve as much of a blurry background as you would with a camera that doesn't have a crop sensor. The other thing is the focal length is going to change. Oh, focal length? What? Too many words, right? So we're at crop sensor and we're at focal length. Focal length is the number that you see on these lenses. So 35 millimeters is a classic one, for example. A focal length is actually the focal length or the distance at which the lens will be most in focus, you could say. So when we attach different lenses to this camera, we can change the focal length. But when you're using a crop sensor, it's going to actually increase that focal length by a certain percentage. The percentage usually across the board is 1.4 to 1.5 times. So if you have a 35 millimeter lens and you attach it to a camera that has a crop sensor, that 35 millimeter just became 50 millimeters, and it will operate as such, which means you're not going to be able to, you'll have to step farther away from the camera. So for that reason, most people find wide angle lenses to be the best lenses to use with the Sony ZV-E10 camera, which we're going to explore here more in a second. I'll actually show it to you. We can do this for now. The Sony ZV-E10 camera, and the best all around, our favorite, is actually not a Sony lens. It's a Sigma lens, and this is the Sigma 16 millimeter lens. Really cool lens and looks really beautiful. It has a very soft feeling to it, and we're going to take a look at it in just a second here. But can we do the math on that? 16 times 1.4? Or you could even do 1.5. I think it might be 1.5, but 1.4, 1.5, it gets you there. So 16 millimeters is the lens size, is the focal length for the Sigma lens that we're looking at right here. So 16 times 1.5. 24. So the angle of view that we're going to see when we look at this camera here in a minute, we're actually not seeing what 16 millimeters looks like. 16 millimeters is wide. That looks almost like a fisheye lens. I mean, that's going to make your room look a lot bigger. What we're actually seeing is more like a 24 millimeter lens. So that's why so many creators love the 16 millimeter on this. So before I hop over to that, I just want to clarify once more with focal length. The lower the number, the wider the shot. The higher the number, the more zoomed in the shot will be. When you get to the world of telephoto lenses, that's what they're using in sports photography and wildlife photography. The numbers get huge. You're at 200 millimeters would be a telephoto lens. Content creation, video podcasting, most of the time we're going to stay within 24 millimeters up to 70. We're not really going to get much higher than 70 because the space that we have in our space doesn't allow for it. The higher the number of your focal length, also the farther away from the lens you will have to be to fit your body into the shot. Does that all sound good? Are we all with me? I know that Tiara Scott is just tuning in. Great. You chose a great time to tune in as we talk about the best cameras for video podcasting. Where are you tuning in from, Tiara? And also let us know what questions you might have. So I'm going to hand it over to Veronica for a brief moment while I change the HDMI cable here to the Sony ZV-E10.
So what do you think so far? So far, which one is your favorite? The one that we are about to show you is the setup that I have in my office downstairs. I think it works really well when you have a space that is small. My office is pretty small, and this lens makes my room look bigger, and I can be closer to the camera, which is really good for me because sometimes I use the teleprompter, or if you are doing a presentation and you're using the Elgato prompter, then your notes and everything will be just right there.
Cool, and that's a really fun shot unintentionally setting this up. So this is as you can see, even by the model number, man, this is the Sony ZV-E10, records up to 4K, has a crop sensor, and we are also looking at here, this is actually the HDMI output of the camera we're looking at now. Yeah, and so what do you think? What I was saying about the image here is that there is, and let me double check on the camera itself. This camera is cool. It falls into the same category of the Sony ZV-E or the Sony ZV-1. It does have an effect on it that not all the Sony's cameras have. And I know we had, Eileen was worried about filters and putting a filter on your face. Well, they do have a skin softening filter on them, which is pretty cool. It looks a little, it's kind of it looks like a Snapchat filter, but it's really cool. The ZV-E10 has it too. So I was just going to check to see if it's on there. And let's see. Let's go to.
I think it is.
You think it is? Let me see.
Or I'm gorgeous.
I think you're just gorgeous because this lens. Oh yeah, no, it's off. So.
Oh, I'm gorgeous.
The skin softening effect is actually off on this. And look at Veronica's complexion. It looks really nice. And so that's part of the Sigma lens for whatever reason. The Sigma lens is very soft, very flattering. Mm-hmm. And then also, we can get pretty close to Veronica with this as well too. We can, and I'm not going to do that because I can't illustrate
I can move my computer.
Yeah, let's see. There we go. So, and let me pop it up like this. So, I mean, this thing is just like right in Veronica's face. Mm-hmm. And you can get pretty close with it. So that's the other reason that you can get pretty close with it. And that's the other reason that people will choose this as a beginner camera. And it's great. Take a look now in comparison to the ZV-1. When we are close to Veronica, look how blurry that background is. It's delicious. We like the blurry background because the blurry background reminds us of film. It reminds us of our eyes when we're really close to somebody. It puts all of the focus on her. So that is a really great camera to start with, and a really great camera lens combination. Lots of things you can do. You probably didn't hear me say any of that because I'm not using... You probably didn't hear me say any of that because I'm moving away from my microphone too much. But this is a really great option, really great camera. And so that is our top pick 2025 camera and lens combo for the prosumer route. And that's it for prosumer stuff. Mm-hmm. Now we got to enter into the professional world. Are you ready? And I forgot to mention, but at the end of this video, we're actually going to suggest, if there is no budgetary concerns at all, what is our absolute top, most professional video podcasting camera? We're going to get there at the very end. So now...
It'll make your show look like Netflix. Like
yeah,
a Netflix
how to make your show look like Netflix. I'll pass it back over to Veronica for a moment, if you could.
Yeah, so I really, really, really like the CVE10 and with this combo, the 16 millimeter lens. The whole combo, the camera and the lens, goes for about $1,200. It's almost $800 for the camera and $400 for the lens. I think this will be a very good investment if you are looking to start and you want something a little bit better quality. I think it's a great option.
Yeah, and then the lens itself does not come with the camera. It's detachable, so you would detach the lens from the camera. So this also gives you the option to experiment with other lenses. So all of the lenses that we're going to talk in the professional world, those can be applied to this lens as well too. So next up, the first camera, a real favorite of mine, is the Sony. Next up is going to be the Sony a7C. Now that's something I'll leave a description for, or that's something I'm going to leave a link for in the description. We actually don't have a Sony a7C, but I recommend it all the time to clients, and I've coached clients through using it because it has a full frame sensor. So it can take full advantage of whatever lens you put on it. And it's also a little bit cheaper than the cameras I'm about to mention. But I really love the Sony a7 Mark III or the Sony a7 III, and we have a couple of those. I love it for lots of reasons. It performs really well in low light situations, lets a lot of light in, and it does get a complete full frame capture on 1080p video, and it crops in just a little bit. The crop in on the 4K video is not 1.5, so you really do take advantage of what they call a full frame sensor. Even though it does crop in a little bit, it's not 100% full frame on the 4K video. So it's a little misleading perhaps because they do sell it as a full frame sensor. The Sony a7C falls into that same category as well. Now with the A7 or the Sony ZV-E10 camera that we just discussed, 1080p, 4K, it doesn't matter. It's always going to be a crop sensor. Mm-hmm. So the camera that you're looking at me through right now is the Sony a7 Mark III camera. And as you can see on this camera, it has also the mini HDMI output from it. And so that's going straight into the computer, and that's what you're seeing. So what do you think about this image? As you can see, the background is very blurred. Now, the blurry background has less to do with the Sony camera and more to do with the lens that's attached to the camera. So now that we're getting into the professional world, we're going to use what's called prime lenses or a fixed lens. And a fixed lens means excuse me, a fixed lens means that it has a fixed focal length. So the Sigma lens that we just explored, the 16 millimeters, that's also a fixed lens. Fixed lenses and prime lenses are preferred by videographers and photographers because they get a superior image quality. But that also means you can't zoom in and out on it. So you'll have to just move the camera toward and away from your subject to get the shot that you want. So the fixed lens that we're using, we love the G Master series. Any of the G Master series by Sony are going to get really incredible picture quality, but more importantly, they have a very important consideration for content creation and video podcasting, and that is the autofocus. Now, in the world of filmmaking, autofocus is almost a faux pas, and you would never see a filmmaker use autofocus because they want to manually control it. But in the world of content creation, we need the camera to intelligently focus on us. Notice when my hand is here in front of me, it stays out of focus. But if I lift it above here, it's going to adjust. So that is a demonstration of the autofocus of this lens. And this lens is the Sony G Master FE 1.4 35 millimeter. Or you could really just say the Sony G Master 35 millimeter. But look how fast that autofocus is. It's very fast, and it has different options. One of the options that you can choose in the menu is a flexible spot. I have that flexible spot pushed right on sort of the area where my face is. That's very important because we don't want the microphone to be coming in and out of focus. And that happens a lot if you don't set that flexible spot on your camera. I do have a video here on the channel about the Sony camera settings where I do actually go into the menu and I show you how to find some of these settings. I will make sure to leave that video in the description where you're watching this. So 35 millimeter G Master lens, fast autofocus. There's another number in the title of the lens, 1.4, FE 1.4. Can we stop with all this technical jargon? FE, what is that? Stands for the f-stop. And 1.4 is considered to be very fast. The lower the number here, the better. And it means that the aperture or the pupil of the lens actually opens really wide and lets a lot of light in, which means you have to use less artificial light on your camera. And the artificial light on your camera is called ISO. You'll see that setting in your camera too. We want to keep that ISO number as low as we can, and we'll get a better video quality. So the FE 1.4, this lens is just beautiful. I can't say enough. In fact, this is my all-around top choice lens for everyone for video podcasting and content creation because it works with all of us in all spaces. 35 millimeters looks very flattering on all of us. It kind of has a real to life perspective to it. So the way that I look here is actually kind of how I look in real life. And that's something that happens with lenses is the higher the focal length, things begin to be squashed together and distorted in reality. And then the wider the focal length, and I'm sure you've seen this in comedy pictures and photos, the more our noses get really long, things get elongated as we get wider and they seem farther away. So when you use a wide angle lens, for example, on your video podcast and you and your homie are sitting on a couch, your feet are gonna look huge. You'll be like, dude, my feet are huge. Or your hands like this are gonna look really big. Conversely, if you're using an 85 millimeter lens, you're gonna be like, why are my hands so tiny? I have small hands. So anyway, 35 millimeter Sony A7 Mark III. That is our number. That is the first pick for the professional series. Now we're going to move to the Sony A7 IV, and this is really my all-time favorite Sony camera, the A7 Mark IV. It's a little bit spendy. We get into the spendy department here.
If we want to talk prices.
Oh yeah, let's talk prices of this setup that you're seeing with me right now.
So just the cameras, the CVE10 is $800.
Oh, the ZVE10
is $800. $400 for the lens, so that's $1,200. And then we have the A7C for $1,500. That's without the lens.
And the A7C we're not displaying here because we don't have one. Mm-hmm. It's a $1,500 body, just the camera.
Yeah, and the A7 III is $1,400.
Just the camera?
Just the camera, yes.
And how much is the G Master 35 millimeter lens?
The 35 millimeter lens, $1,200 if I'm not. 35. Sony, okay. Yes, $1,300 for the lens.
So as you can see, $1,300 just for one lens. But in the world of photography, they say invest in the glass, invest in the lens, because it's a good investment. You'll take good care of it, and you can attach it to any body you get in the future.
And the A7 IV?
The A7 IV.
$2,200.
$2,200. And the A7 IV, $2,200 just for the camera itself is the one we're going to explore next. Is it the price tag that makes it my favorite? No. but yeah, probably. This is the A7 IV. Notice the HDMI output that comes out of the A7 IV here is a full-sized HDMI output. That makes it feel more reliable, more rugged, and I get a much better HDMI. It seems to spit out a much higher quality HDMI image as well. It performs a little bit better in low light. And by the way, when cameras say they perform better in low light, that just means that you can use a lot of its ISO, and its artificial light technology is more transparent. Also, it has a different color profile, which just means it looks a little bit different in terms of color, and lots of fun features on it. It's just really great. And it also has, if I'm not mistaken, we're looking at Veronica through it right now. So here's what Veronica looks like with her podcast microphone using the Sony A7 Mark IV. Pretty amazing, right? And this doesn't have any skin softening or anything on it. Let me see real quick, and Veronica, maybe you could talk while I'm back there. Mm-hmm. I do believe it has the skin softening effect. Let me go look.
So, I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
Well, here I am in the menu, and if you come down to the menu along the left-hand side, you'll see these subcategories. I don't know if that's too blown out for you to even see. And you probably also can't hear me.
What are you showing?
It does. So it does have a skin soft effect. So I'm going to turn that on.
Oh, so we are turning on the skin.
We're going to turn on
the skin softening effect, which it comes in handy if you are doing this live streams, because it's like an Instagram filter. It's going to make you look good.
So there's the skin softening effect, and I have it on mid. I'm also going to toggle it onto high now.
Put it all on me. Put it all on me.
There's the skin softening effect with Veronica on high. I think it's a little much. When we use the skin softening effect, we do it right here, the way that you're seeing it on Veronica right now, and this is on low. We still see some of her skin. She doesn't just look like taffy, like saltwater taffy. She looks like a human being.
Why?
So,
I don't want to look
like you want to look like taffy?
Yes.
I like taffy a lot.
I don't want to look like a human being, no.
So another reason why this is cool, it has that feature baked into it. Also, this camera has I got to turn that skin softening effect off.
Oh, man.
It's
okay,
just me. I don't
bye.
even like that. Okay, this camera has a true full frame sensor at 4K and at 1080p. It's not trying to get one over on you. This is the real deal. This is really where you start getting into the professional world. So it's worth the $2,200 if you can spree. However, the A7C, half the price or at least like $1,000 cheaper, $900 cheaper. Wonderful place to start as well too. So don't think that you need to have this by any means, but if budget isn't too much of an option, go to the A7C. Or the A7 Mark IV, A7 IV by Sony. Mm-hmm. The lens that we're looking at through Veronica, and again, the lens is more important than the body in most cases, is also a G Master lens, and it is the G Master 50 millimeter lens. And we love this one. That's why I always prioritize it for Veronica, and I give it to her because she's the more attractive of the two of us. So she should just have the better lens. But the 50 millimeter lens here gets a really blurry background. But notice the distance between this lens and Veronica. It's interesting it's good to note the distance. Usually by the focal length, you can really just take the focal length, take a 0 away from it, and that's about how many feet you'll have to be away from it to be in a medium-sized shot like this. So I would say that Veronica is probably a good 5.5, 6 feet away from this lens, and that's how we get this shot. But really take a look at how blurry the background is. That's pretty cool. That's amazing. And this really is a very cinematic looking camera for sure. And I mean, we are used to seeing these kind of images in Netflix and stuff. So cool. Now the next camera on the list is, if we're ready to move on, I believe so. Okay. The next camera on the list, and if you're just joining us, we're doing best cameras for video podcasting. If you have any questions, make sure to drop them. We'll be getting to that. We did have Balsac Media says, hello there. The A7 III is what I use with the 16 millimeter. Great combo. Awesome. Yeah, really great combo. Love the 16 millimeter too. However, do you like the 16 millimeter on, how close are you to the camera? Maybe you like the way that you look better through 16 millimeter because it elongates your features instead of flattening them. If you look at my ears, for example, if I'm on a 70 millimeter or higher, my ears come up in front of my face and I look like an elephant.
Lord of the Rings.
Yes, which is wonderful. So that is something to consider. Some people will look better with the 50 millimeter lens. Now the 50 millimeter lens, what we just explored here, this is your classic portrait lens that portrait photographers will use. When you go to a photography studio, they'll start with 50 millimeters on you. That's where people tend to look the most flattering. So 50 millimeters, if you have this amount of space in your, not that other camera over there, we're looking at this camera. If you have that amount of distance in your space, but many of us don't. Many of us don't have at first that actual distance in our room to work with, right? So yeah, keep the questions coming in. Tell us where you're tuning in from. And let's move on to the second to last suggestion. This is an even contender, I would say, with the A7 IV. And that is, dun, 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 dun. Let me hide this little title card. That is none other than this beautiful, ooh, I just brought in an extra title card. That's not, ooh, I brought in all three of them. That's not good. Oh boy. This guy here is the FX30, the Cinema Line FX30. Notice on him, we have a G Master FE 1.8 20 millimeter lens. Why are we putting a 20 millimeter on this FX30? And that's because the FX30, as part of the Cinema Line, is a crop sensor. So that's kind of the bummer for me about this camera, is that it has a crop sensor. And for me, I'm just really picky. I want the whole picture of the lens. I want to be able to use the lens. And also I love the blurry background and I want to be able to see as much of that as possible. So this camera will affect those two things. This is what the camera looks like on Veronica right now. We are sort of pivoted to the side. Very beautiful, wonderful live streaming as well. Notice that this camera also has the HDMI output, is a full-size HDMI output. Also really cool. I love the full-size HDMI output. This camera does not have the skin softening effect on it. So if that's something you really want for a live stream, is to have that skin softening effect, maybe this camera wouldn't be the one for you. How much does this camera cost, Veronica?
$1,500.
$1,500 for the body of the camera.
Yes.
And the lens, the 20 millimeter lens, maybe we can find how much that costs too, probably around the $1,200 range for these G Master lenses. So even though we are looking at Veronica through a 20 millimeter lens, this...
no, it's $1,800.
$1,800, okay. Even though we're looking, right now you're looking at Veronica through this camera. And even though we're looking at her through a 20 millimeter lens, it's actually operating a lot more like a 35 millimeter would. Veronica is a full 3.5, 4 feet away from this camera to get this shot. If this was actually a full frame sensor, she would appear to be much farther away from the camera. So that's something that's a little bit something to consider. Now, why is that okay? And why does that not matter? Because of the other amazing features of this camera. It's rugged and it's a Cinema Line, which means it actually works as a video camera, which means it has no shut-off features. It's perfect. Also, it's more rugged and it has a bunch of different holes and ports that you can attach different fun attachments to it, including a very popular audio handle situation that we'll include as well, that truly turns this into what we consider to be the ultimate portable video podcast setup, because you can put 2 SD cards inside of this camera. I can illustrate that here. If you pop open the side, you can put 2 SD cards in there. You could put 2 SD cards inside of that and record for hours into this camera, have really good quality audio that's being plugged directly into the camera, and do all of your production directly into this camera. It'll never shut off on you. Also, it works perfect for a live streaming camera. It's just an all-around great workhorse, performs really well in low light, has a wonderful color profile, and the 4K that it records is a really awesome new 4K technology that Sony has implemented that is really impressive. This camera looks really good in post-production. When you pull the footage from this camera into your video editing software, it's gonna be like, wow, that looks really great. When you start applying the color correction and the skin softening and some of those more advanced techniques after the fact, you realize, okay, yeah, we're playing with the big boys now. We're definitely making movies, maybe more than we're making video podcast episodes. So that's it, and it has the 20 millimeter on it. Now, if you put the 35 millimeter on it, it would act like a 50 millimeter. But what do you think? What do you think about how that looks? So those are all of our cameras. Now, as I promised, the real moment of truth, here is if you have no budgetary concerns and you just want the best PSS Creative Media top choice for a video podcast camera in 2025. It's actually the big brother to the FX30. And it's the big brother to the FX30, and that is the FX3. It's the FX30, but on serious good steroids or drugs. It has a full frame sensor. It's like the A7 IV in that regard. It has a full frame sensor, performs even better at in dark environments. What does it go for, the FX3, Veronica?
Let me search.
But it's spendy. I think it's like $3,000, close to $4,000 just for the camera.
Yes.
And so
$3,900.
Yeah, so basically it seems as though to get a true 4K full frame sensor recording on any one of these cameras is going to cost you. So that's why, but we really want to encourage you to start with the consumer and the prosumer, wherever your budget is. If there's no budgetary concern, then get the FX3 and get all three of these lenses that I just mentioned, and you will have the true filmmaker, video creator, true professional pack to get any kind of shot you want and look like Hollywood style. You're going to have the FE 20 millimeter G Master, the 35 millimeter G Master, and the 50 millimeter G Master. These three lenses and also these three focal lengths happen to be the focal length and the lens kit, very similar kit you'll find in any cinematographer's bag. So with that, that's all you need to get cooking. And there are some things with each of these cameras, some tricks and some settings. And remember, I mentioned I have a video that you can check out right here that will show you those settings so that you can adjust the camera to make sure it doesn't shut off on you, to make sure that you can plug it in and that the HDMI settings are set the way that you want them to. And we'll also take a look at those skin softening effects and making adjustments to the autofocus. And what do you think? Do we have any other questions? We do have, Ballstock Media says, again, my reason for using the 16 millimeters because I have it through the Elgato prompter, which is also what Veronica does in her office. This way I can have the prompter closer to me.
Yes.
Exactly. So Ballstock Media, just hit it on the head there, guys. Like if you want the true, like awesome remote video podcast setup, then you don't need to get into the thousands of dollars. You can go exactly with this one right here. And then get a teleprompter that goes right onto it, and you would have the same setup as Ballstock Media and the same setup as that Veronica has in her office. I hope you found that to be incredibly helpful. I hope that it helps you to make the right purchase decision for your video podcast. Don't be a stranger here on the channel. Let us know where you're at in your content creation journey and your video podcasting journey. We're here to help. And with that, did I miss anything, Veronica, that you can think of?
No.
Okay, and I don't think we have any other questions here. Remember that we will be...
We're here if you have any questions regarding equipment. We can stay here, for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, so...
to answer your questions. This is your chance. If you have a list of things on your Amazon shopping cart, and you want to pull the trigger, here we are. We can guide you through that purchase. And I don't know why I'm singing.
I don't know why she's talking like this. She must be getting tired.
I'm singing.
Can we get some weird faces of you on this, please? Can you play with this? Just for like ooh, yeah, and then like up, ooh, yeah, that's good. This is just some B-roll. This is just while we're waiting for any last final comments to come through before we end this stream. Remember, we go live every Saturday. We have not yet determined the exact live time. It seems to be more around 3 p.m. Eastern, although our goal is to probably get it closer to 2 p.m. Eastern time. That is Martita El Pollo.
Marta is my companion for this live streams. These live streams are intense.
Yes, these live streams are intense.
A lot of energy, so I need my Marta.
Marta is Veronica's support pollo. And it doesn't look like there's any other questions popping in. So we've had so much fun today. This was a complete video podcasting crash course. Hopefully we helped you all not to create any more overwhelm, but instead to remove roadblocks for you. This has got to be your year. You got to just start posting content and staying consistent with posting your content. What starts today is posting your content regularly, seemingly maybe not to a very big audience. Fast forward a few years, it's going to open up unimaginable opportunities for you. Most certainly has for us.
Yes.
And
exactly. This is the year that we are making the shift from being consumers, from scrolling and spending way too much time on our phones, and we're going to start creating. We're going to get into creation mode. If this is you, if you've been sitting on this idea of starting making content, maybe you want to make videos for YouTube, you want to record a video podcast for your business, with maybe a family member, a friend. This is your year to start, and we're here with all of the resources and all of our knowledge that we keep sharing with you during these live streams. We also work with people one-on-one. If you need more of that one-on-one help, we have different courses and coaching programs that you can just sign up for and finally pull the trigger for this project. Content, your journey of making content, posting content, and growing an audience and connecting with other people is a very fulfilling, fun journey. It will change you. It will test you.
It'll test you. It'll force you to grow. It'll force you out of your comfort zone. And like nothing else, a video podcast is a vehicle and can be a vehicle to your greatest dreams and pursuits. And
if you would have asked me, 10 years ago or 8 years ago, if I would ever be on a live stream or being able to do a presentation like this, or being able to articulate ideas like on the fly, you have to think of on your feet. You have to be, eloquent, and you have to entertain. If you would have asked me a few years ago, I would have said, no, absolutely not. So the journey for me has been a very interesting one, but I'm very grateful that I get to do this and that I get to learn all of these skills, and that it's been possible just because I decided to start. So that's the only thing that you need to do, is just make a decision to start, and just one step at a time. Baby steps is better than no steps. Baby steps is how we start.
And you're also required to put out some imperfect, sloppy, embarrassing content.
Yes.
Put it out there. It's never going to be perfect. You're never going to have the real camera and the real lighting and the real composition and the real performance and the real content that you want. But we want to really just get creating, because it's the real lessons that you need to learn. How you're really going to improve actually comes through the action of doing the thing. There's no way around it. So with that, we're here for you. We're going to end this live stream. There wasn't any questions that popped up. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. We'll see you next Saturday. Same time, same place. Bring your questions, bring your ideas and thoughts. This is a collaborative endeavor that we have. We want to get to know you. Tons of different ways you can work with us. Go to pss.media to find out how, whether it's one-on-one. We do have a free mini course, the free video podcast edit lab, where you can we explore Descript and a 2-camera edit. And so you can actually explore the world of video podcast editing, either for your own endeavors, or more specifically, if it's something you want to consider as a side hustle to bring in a little more cash. Video editing is amazing in that way, that in terms of the distance between when you start educating yourself and the distance between getting paid real money from real clients is relatively short, just a few months. And so that's something that we really are raising awareness to and sharing that with people, giving you that free mini course reality check. Of course, we train world-class editors. The Podcast Edit Lab is now onto its 5th or 6th cohort with a newly designed iteration, which we're really excited about. 14 weeks is that program. If you really want to become a world-class editor and charge tons of money and work with premium clients, some of the best clients in the world, that's our goal, and that's what we do with our editors in that program. All of that stuff you can find out about by going to pss.media. Also, Veronica has some really fun programs as well. Right now, she's currently in her cohort of the Smart and Simple video podcast program. That cohort she does every other month or so. And I believe in February, you have another Planet Right workshop coming up.
Yes.
So lots of fun things where you can actually get to know us on a personal level. We would love to actually meet you and see your face and hear your episodes and watch your episodes and give you real feedback. So that's what we're here for. So don't be a stranger. And until next time,
keep creating and keep letting that imagination go wild. And I will see you next Saturday.